Well. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, July 14th, 7:13 p.m. I've been failing you guys lately. I keep saying I'm going to start the stream at 6 p.m. and then every single time I'm starting at like 7 p.m. or later. But no, there's no excuse. I mean, I was working the whole time, but it's not a good enough excuse. My biggest issue right now is I think I go to sleep way too late. I've been going to sleep at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then I'll wake up at like noon, something like that. So I think I still get my beauty sleep, but sleep schedule-wise, it's completely effed in the A, as they say. Anyways, not that any of that matters. Welcome, guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday. Today's going to be a good day on the stream. We're going to be editing, you guessed it, a lot of chimpanzee photos. It's in the title. It's what I've been doing for the past couple days at least, but today should be the final day. Depending on how productive I am, today should be the last day that we spend on the chimps, because I think we've got like maybe 5 to 10 more photos, key photos that I should edit. And then we move on to the gorillas and some other stuff from the trip. So anyways, that's what today's going to be. Let me also give my quick little introduction. My name's Yobel. I go by YobelPrize. I am a travel and wildlife photographer turned YouTuber turned live streamer. Something in that kind of ballpark. But yeah, I do focus my time these days on YouTube. My goal is to hopefully continue growing it out as like the foundation for everything that I do. I'm sure people can push me on this, but in my opinion, I still think that YouTube is probably the smartest platform for content creators to focus on, because one, I think it's much harder to substitute what you create on a YouTube platform, like the type of content that usually exists there. I think it's a lot more resistant to AI compared to, like, let's say if you're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever else. So I think the long form has a bit more staying power. But then two, I think it's just great to put your face out there more often, whether it's in your voice, whether it's your work or your actual face. So anyways, YouTube has been great. And I do hope that I can continue to grow that so that that becomes a nice foundation for whatever else I end up doing. Now, speaking of that, I'm almost at a big I'm on a big milestone. Almost 10,000 subscribers. That's big for me. It's just like, yeah, it'll be a nice mental, milestone lock. Like, okay, we've achieved something that feels nice. So I think I'm hovering around 9,900 and something. So hopefully, maybe one of my videos goes viral or pops, and then we'll grab the remaining amount of subs, and we will officially be a 10,000 subscriber YouTuber. Nothing happens, nothing changes, but maybe the algorithm treats you differently. Who knows? But anyways, I'm rambling, but that's what we're here for. Yeah, I'm multi-streaming across YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So today, my goal is to stream for the next 3 hours or so. And hopefully within those 3 hours, I should be able to crack through all of the chimp shots. So speaking of, without further ado, I think this was one of the last photos that we shot. Give me 1 second. I forgot I needed to... Let's make sure everything's running smoothly here. Hold on. Let me hop back over to here. Are my cats here? No. My cats... They were running around just a second ago after I fed them, so hopefully they'll calm down, and in the meantime, I guess I got a replacement. Give me a second here. What am I doing here? Let me go do this thing. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry for the silence. There we go. Okay. Everything else looking good. Yes. Sorry, sometimes I have these like technical difficulties that I forget to fix in advance, but I think now we're fine. Everything looks great, yes. All right, so that's what's on the agenda today. We've got maybe 5 to 10 key chimp photos that I want to get through. It might be a little bit more than that, we'll find out. And then while we're editing, of course, I've got some YouTube videos lined up for us to kind of watch in the background. And before we do anything further, I also need to play some chess. Need is a strong word, but want. I desire to kick some ass in chess. So let's go ahead. Let me set this up. All right, so this will be my little brain juice flowing mind game activity. The day I can play this perfectly while talking or doing other stuff, if I can multitask properly while playing this kind of game, that's the day I know I've made it. What to do? Let's protect the king for this push. But if he does that, I'll take, so that's fine for now. Let's threaten the king. So we pin the knight there. Let's leave some space for my bishop to get out. Maybe just to here. So if you're wondering, what am I doing here? Editing. Instead of editing photos, I'm playing some chess. Well, you know what? This is my little way. This is my way to detox, if that makes sense. But it has become. Oh shoot! What am I doing? Okay. Well, I wasn't paying attention, and like I said, okay, I might as well resign this game. Jesus. Let's try again. Oh, speaking of games though, I would love to be a gamer streamer, right? Like I love video games. I just, I'm not good enough for that per se. However, a game that I started playing recently is the one called Pal World. I think I just saw something randomly on socials about like some big firmware update that was going to completely revamp everything. And so anyways, I was like, oh, I'm curious. And my God, it's like this game was made for me. I love those types of games where there's almost like no purpose to the game. You're just going there. It's up to you. You just try to, it's like Pokemon, I guess. You just catch these animals that are called pals, which is just like a copyright free way of saying Pokemon. Ah, shoot. What am I doing? See, I can't talk and play at the same time. I really can't. I'm about to be crushed again. I think I have a sneaky move though. At least here, he's got to push his knight back. And then I think what I'll do is I'll threaten the rook. And then I'm going to threaten the king for now. Obviously, he's going to push. And then... Oh shoot, what am I doing this whole time? Why hasn't he taken my queen? Oh my, I'm playing so terribly. How's he not noticed? Holy crap. I mean, I'm still losing right now, but I don't deserve to win this one. I've just had my queen there for the dude's knight. Wow. Well, he doesn't deserve to win either then. How about that? I'll take, okay, so now we're back to even, Steven. Let's see what he does. If he moves the rook here, which he didn't. I feel in a very precarious situation, so I think I want to just trade queens. That's interesting. What's his end game with that move? Okay, let's pump the brakes. I'm going to bring back my rook. Okay. Okay. I want to take this pawn here. All right, we're somehow winning, ever so slightly. Oh, I've got to be careful. It's still anyone's game here. And he's got the upper hand in terms of time. Man, he's really got me over the barrel here. He's about to get like at least 2 extra. That was just me scrambling to, like, I don't know, buy some time. Like I said, I didn't deserve this one regardless, so... But not playing that well. Okay, let's resign this one. Not the best. I just want 1 W, alright? What's happening? Day tour. Hello, everyone. Hey, Yobel. Good to see you, man. Guten Abend, guten Abend. Oh, quick update. The first episode of my upcoming travel vlog series, it's in the final touches. I've been working with my editor. I think everything looks fairly good. There's just a few fine-tuning that I need to do on my end. But yeah, I hope you guys will enjoy it. It'll be the first of many episodes, right? Basically, each episode probably will be like 20 to 30 minutes long, going over key activities during my travels. So the first episode, it's a little bit of like the context, showing a lot of the gear that I traveled with. So before we get too deep into, you know, like the actual adventure, it'll be a lot of just like, here's the gear that I shot with, here's the setup, what I was trying to do with the what? Oh, to shoot the chimps and the gorillas and stuff. But I think the way it's structured, it should hopefully be very entertaining, hopefully very interesting for you guys. And then the second episode, I've just finished recording the remaining talking head, like voiceover moments. I've got the structure, the dialogue, everything's done. I've got all the footage. And that will be going over the first 2 days, first 2 full days of Uganda. So when I flew from Munich to Uganda, and from there, you'll see the shoebill stork. So it'll focus on the 2 days where I went out into the swamp to photograph the shoebill stork. So very excited. I think, you know, especially now with these like action cameras with the Osmo Nano and stuff, it does unlock a new way to be a storyteller, which is really nice. As a solo traveler, the ability to essentially tell a good story while not necessarily being able to film yourself all the time, it does make for a better experience, better viewing experience, better stories possible and all that. So anyways, look forward to that. I'm very, very excited. Yo, what's happening? We got Katzenel and Bogan here. Watch me as I'm getting wrecked in chess. This is meant to be just like a casual way to, you know, get the creative juices flowing, but all I've been doing is getting destroyed. I am trying to multitask, and that's part of the problem, but I mean, listen, we gotta live under the rules of no excuses. Katzenella Bogan says, hi. Hold on. What should I do here? Okay, I'm gonna push. I technically had a free pawn, but I think I prefer this, because if he takes, then I fork the queen and the rook. And if he pushes, then I move the knight over here to still threaten the... There we go. Okay. Oh, shoot. Oh my god. That's almost a checkmate. Shoot. What do I do here? I was not paying attention. Okay, let's just get rid of that threat. Then I'm going to push with this one or this one. I'll push with this one. Sorry, Katzenellenbog, and you said, hi, do you ever use adaptive color? Hold on one second. I'm in a really precarious situation here because he's almost got the checkmate. But I think I should be fine here. No, I'm not fine. This is checkmate. Dang it, I wasn't paying attention. I only thought about this, but now if he just moves to that square, I'm donezo. Garbanzo. Okay, whatever. I didn't deserve it. Katzenellenbogen says, hi, do you ever use adaptive color in Lightroom to speed things up? I've never even heard of adaptive color. Can you... Should I Google this? What is this called? Adaptive color. Yeah, let's put it here. Did Lightroom kill presets? Adaptive color is insane. This is from 1 year ago. All right, let's check this out.
Did Lightroom just kill presets? Like, permanently? Inside this video, we are looking at Lightroom's new adaptive color profiles, and we're going to see whether they live up to the AI hype and whether you're going to be throwing your...
But also, hello, Katzenellenbogen. I don't know if I gave a proper hello to you. It's been a while. Hope you've been well. Hopefully you finished all your wildlife safari edits. We had a wonderful chat the other day. On yesterday's stream, there was someone who hopped in who asked for advice on wildlife safari lenses to use and stuff like that. So if you were there, I would have definitely asked if you could remind us what lenses you ended up using. Basically, I was recommending like the 180 to 600 if it's available to rent. Obviously, my 400 2.8 is like, it's one of the best to shoot with. But anyways, let's watch this.
Presets
Adaptive
in the garbage. Now, I've got some photos here. We're going to go through together, and I'm going to show you exactly what this new profile does. And if you're wondering, this is available in Lightroom CC and Lightroom Classic. You're going to find it in the same place in both of them. In the profile section at the top of your editing panel, you just select adaptive color, and Lightroom's going to analyze the scene. It's going to look at the highlights, the shadows, the blacks, the whites, the contrast, and the colors in your image, and it's going to say, okay, this is what I think it should be based on their AI model. So it's almost like when you apply this profile to any photo, you're getting an individual, unique, custom profile across every single photo you add it to. So that's pretty powerful, right? Let's apply it to a couple other photos and you can kind of see, and then we'll talk about...
Well, interesting enough, Katzenellenbogen, I don't see that as an option for me in that profile section. Maybe it's somewhere else. Let's see. What was it called? Adaptive... Adaptive presets. No, adaptive profile. I'm pretty sure I have the latest version too.
About the strengths, the weaknesses, and what I'm finding in applying it to my edits. So this photo, you can see very, very blown out sky, super dark shadows. Let's take our profile and go adaptive color. You can see in our reset photo, very bright, highlights, very dark shadows, and we've got a beautiful sunset in just one click. Now I can adjust my exposure a little, take my highlights down just a bit, maybe my clarity down a little bit, and we've got a really nice edit in just a couple of seconds. Now if I compare that to editing this with a preset, and I reset this photo, it's going to take a couple more clicks, right? I can go into my base sets here and take my exposure down a little bit, take my highlights down, and maybe our contrast up slightly. So I still get there. I get a really nice image in just a couple of clicks, but it took me a little bit longer. So if you're doing hundreds of photos, obviously that's going to make a difference. And if you're newer...
It's on the right panel. I've been using it to fix or see underexposed photos for what they could be. It works for raw photos only. I mean, these all should be raw. I mean, this one, I put it through Dehancer, but it's still considered a TIFF file. Let's see. Can I just pick another? Okay, so this one's in raw. Oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So it didn't show up for that photo because I'd already put it through Dehancer, and then when it got fed back into Lightroom, maybe it treats it differently. Okay, let's see. So we'll go to adaptive color. Interesting. So I think adaptive color, what it's doing well is it feels like it's a good color correction tool, at least from this one shot, right? From this one photo we just tried it on. It feels like it does a good job of like finding the right white balance, essentially. and cleaning up a bit of the shadows and balancing out the lighting, because this looks pretty clean as a starting point. So I feel like this is kind of nice to do the starting point, after which I can then apply the presets that I have on top of it. So thank you for sharing this, because now I think this might be a new way that I should be considering my workflow. Because you can see here, for example, so now that we have this, then I'm like kind of browsing through the different presets that I have to see the different color looks that I really want. You know what? We should do a comparison then. I should test it on another. We should do a side by side. Adaptive color. Yeah, so I think that might be the first layer of what I could start with before we get to the next steps, right? So let's see. I've already edited these photos. Let's find a new one that I can test. Okay, nothing. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's what's happening? We got average, profile, picture, saying don't say it. Yes, don't worry. Sometimes we have I have willpower. What's happening, APP? In the chat, Katzenellenbogen says, I like it because it doesn't change things like exposure, temperature, etc. And you can scale it down if it's too much. Oh my God, you're right. Wait, hold on a second. I wasn't even paying attention. I didn't realize it didn't actually adjust any of my actual sliders. Huh. Okay. Well, this might be a very handy tool. Actually, let's test it on this one now. Oh, you know what? We're gonna get right into the editing then. Average PP says, good work, bruh. Thank you. Okay, well, Katzen, Nellen, Boggin. Wait, hold on. Let's keep watching this video. Maybe there's more.
To the Lightroom game, it's also going to be a little bit harder for you because obviously you don't have as much experience, whereas Lightroom can get you there in one click rather than experimenting and figuring this out. And you can see it's raised up our blacks and our shadows without compromising our highlights, and it doesn't really look like an HDR image, which is often what happens when you go in here, we take our shadows way too high and our blacks way too high and our highlights way down. It starts to feel a little unnatural. So that's one thing I'm finding is really good about the adaptive color. This is export ready.
Hey, look who decided to join us.
Super clean, super natural look. Adaptive color.
It's the one and only, the queen. She's like, who's this imposter that I've set up there? Do not worry, Nala. You cannot be replaced. Good girl. Hello. Good girl. All right, so we got Nala in the chat. We're still missing Kimbap, though. Lately, Kimbap's just been hanging out somewhere on his own. So hopefully he'll come back someday. All right, anyways. So there's Nala. Bruh for saying it. I don't know what I said, man. APP says, that's what we call a fuzzy wuzzy in our house. A fuzzy wuzzy, okay.
Is pretty much a game changer. Now, here's where we see the first area that I'm kind of on the fence about with adaptive color. Here is the adaptive color preset, and here's my preset. And so you can see that in the adaptive color version, we've saved a lot of detail in the sky. Like we have a really nice kind of sunset vibe going on. We haven't blown anything out on this mountainside here.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out with this adaptive color is, does it in any way destroy the image, or does it like damage the image in terms of the adjustments that it's making, or are you prone to making, I don't know, like, because if you don't see the effects in the sliders, although I guess I can look at the histogram for a general sense still.
Also taken the highlights down in this section of water here that had all the reflections. Now, that's good in some ways because we have more room to work with.
Average PP says, you know what you
said. In a way that I don't like.
said.
So let me just back out here and show you a photo. And we're running in the woods. We've got this nice fog in the sky. Let's go up here to profile and adaptive color. And you're going to see that Lightroom actually erases the fog. Like it's applying some dehaze up here. And so we actually lose that kind of dreamy feel of the fog. Whereas if we apply just a normal preset, we've still got that fog. We've still kind of got that sort of dehaze vibe in the photo. And so it really changes the way it feels when we add our adaptive color. Let's go in here, adaptive color, and voila, now it feels kind of more like an HDR. And you can really see where the greens change, right? We have these nice, warm, muted greens from my preset pack.
Well, listen, let's test this out for ourselves. I don't have the patience to watch this. I got other videos I'm supposed to watch. Hold on, let's see. Where are we at? A skill we stopped teaching. We got a video from our own Fedorevsky that he just published recently. David Fincher. watching him direct. I love these behind the scenes stuff. I take mental notes. 5.7 millimeter lens. I'm curious about this aspect ratio, as well. So
Nolan shot this.
also in preparation for the one and only Christopher Nolan's latest movie, Odyssey. I'll be watching it on Sunday. I'm super excited for this. So this one, and then the number one movie I'm most excited for is Dune 3. Come on, that looks amazing.
What does it mean to say?
And then we got Thomas Flight, Willem Dafoe's War on Realism, and then Colin Kelly. I wanted to see what his studio looks like. Captain Ellen Boggin says, I found out about this from a photojournalist mate of mine on how she gets photos out to Reuters so quickly when she only shoots RAW and not JPEG. And he showed me her workflow. It's impressive how quickly it works. Okay. She edits and sends them out. APP says, Yobel, I don't remember. Is that your name? Yes, it is. Yobel. And that's how I came up with YobelPrize. I mean, I was just born a genius. All right. Put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, I used to have to tell people when I had to introduce myself to people, they'd be like, hey, imagine we're meeting. And the person would be like, hey, my name's Bob. And I'm like, oh, hey, Bob, I'm Yobel. And then like that blank look on their face when their brain cannot register whatever just came out of my mouth. Because it's like, what did you say? And then like, Yobel. And then they're like, what? Your bell? And I'll be like, oh, okay. It's like Nobel Prize, but with the Y. And then there's a light bulb moment. That blank expression just evaporates in a moment. The moment they make that connection, they're like, it's like Nobel Prize, but with a Y. Oh, Yobel. And so anyways, it just became a thing. Eventually, when I was creating my social media handles, it worked out. Nobody took it. So anyways, there's a little story time. Okay, so let's put on one of these videos. Let's do the Colin Kelly one as we edit. So thanks to Katzenell and Boggin, I think we're going to try for these upcoming chimp photos. In terms of the workflow, I'm going to start with using that adaptive color. So hold on one second. Let me...
What's up, y'all? I'm fired up that you're here today. You actually get to come into the space where I actually do my actual job, but I'm not making content for the YouTube channel, so I'm really excited to share this with you. I really haven't shared this with anybody before.
I'm actually excited to see what his studio looks like. So, okay. We're going to do this. Which photo should we start with? Because these are like a whole series. I need to figure out which one of these I've highlighted for being the best one. Give me a second. Let's go. Okay. So of the series, let's see which one we should start with. This one's a contender because the eye is nice and sharp and we got a little bit of a bounce. We got some light bouncing off of it. This one could make more sense just in terms of the direction that he's looking. Ooh, this one looks clean, looking up at the sky. So it's like, I think in terms of composition or the pose, either we want the chimp looking straight at the camera or looking up into the sky. So it looks like it's kind of daydreaming. These all kind of could work. This one is an interesting composition. I might be able to play with it. Same with that one. Okay, let's go with... Let's work with this one first. All right. Let's keep watching this.
Here at Lola VFX, these guys are my partners.
Average PP says, who wants to bet Dune 3 will be filled with the Helios 44M4 58mm f2? Man, these are lenses I've never even heard of. I think it was the lens used in the original. Oh, snap. That feels like very much like a Christopher Nolan thing to do. Have I heard of Kyle Nutt on YouTube? I don't think so.
Who I work with and
all right, first step, let's do the adaptive
stuff that we do together.
Color profile thing, or adaptive color.
At the space today where I do my grading, like I said, and I'm really excited because we're going to be doing an actual hands-on grade when we get downstairs to the suite. So let's take a look at the space and we can find our way down to the room and do a color grade. So it's funny because like over the last couple of years, I got to a...
Okay, so off the rip, it looks like it's correcting for what I did, which I underexposed the shot originally. But that was intentional in terms of like, at least for that day of shooting, I was trying to see if I can just shoot underexposed from the camera to get the intended look I want from the very beginning. So funny enough, it's actually doing the thing to course correct for what it views as a mistake, because it was clearly underexposed. But I'm assuming from this beginning, I can always still drop it back down, right? But when I just drop the exposure down, you can definitely see that there's some details that's been taken away. Like the face feels much flatter. Let's see. So this is what it was before. There's a bit more contrast. There's a bit more, a little bit more detail there. Then after it applied the adaptive color, now it feels soft. It feels like all the contrast has been stripped away from this. Could I reclaim it? Maybe. Interesting. Am I comfortable with this? Well then, hold on. Let's do that again. Adaptive color. I guess I can drop it down, right? So maybe it's just about doing a bit of like a selective amount. So let's say if I just lift it just so things get a bit more. All right, how does this look compared to the before after? I mean, it's not bad. It feels like it is correcting for some things. Again, mainly around my underexposed shot. So maybe this is also not the best photo to apply it to, because it's basically doing the opposite of what I want. It's like kind of bringing it back to normal. For some of these upcoming shots, I was kind of shooting with that baked in, as if I've already proceeded past normal. But let's see. So I've applied a bit of that adaptive color, just a touch of it. And now I'm gonna look through my presets. And honestly, man, these look great. These look fantastic. But I don't know. Let's say if I turn off adaptive color again. Let's say if I redo it. I think it still looks good without. Actually, let's do a comparison. Let me create a duplicate. So let me choose this one. So just imagine I do a one punch preset with my Falcon Sunset preset. Then over here, instead, I'm going to choose adaptive color and then Falcon preset. Is there any difference now? Let's see. So this is with the adaptive color. This is without. Hold on. This is with adaptive color. This is without. I think it's the exact same. Oh, you know why? Okay, Katzenell and Boggin, we're learning things as we go. Well, I think you could apply a preset on top of the adaptive color. However, I think the way I've built my presets, it's also carrying across the profile in it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure this treatment and profile, when I saved the preset initially, I had saved it with this checked, right? The treatment and profile. So it would carry across whatever I was using. So most likely it's Adobe Color, because I don't usually change the profile unless it's like black and white, I think. So I think what happens is when I choose any of my presets, it's overriding the adaptive color. Oh wait, hold on. We can just tell. Yeah. See, because both of them, none of them says adaptive color anymore here. So it just kind of overrode it once I clicked on my preset. So what happens then if after the fact, if I hit adaptive color and then play with it? Something like this. This could be, I'm thinking like, what if I do the preset first and then I change it to adaptive color? So I'm kind of flipping the ordering here, which I don't necessarily know if is a good thing to do, because what I could gather from how adaptive color was working, it did feel very much like it's not trying to do the creative color choice for you. It's trying to just get you to equilibrium. It looks like it's a good tool to figure out if your shot is too underexposed or whatever, if there's any imperfections, and it tries to kind of brush it aside. Whereas if I apply the preset first, it's probably going to confuse the system a bit more, because my presets by design are kind of breaking, right? Because you're trying to create your own custom color, look, and feel. So it might be more confusing for adaptive color. However, with that said, if I adjust the slider, so obviously here it's way too much, doesn't look that great. But if I were to at least reduce the adaptive color, okay, if I have it on 0 compared to, okay, so this is Adobe Color with no adjustments, like default Adobe Color, same preset. And then this is Adaptive Color at 0. So it's just basically without Adobe Color, here's what we get. So this is without Adobe Color Profile. This is with Adobe Color Profile. So a slightly darker contrast. Whereas the without is a bit flatter. So me personally, I prefer when it's a little bit darker. But now, let's say with adaptive color, if I were to increase the slider a bit. Something like that. You've given me a lot to think about, Katzenell and Boggin. Yes, what happens when you scale it down instead of the exposure? Okay, yeah, so we're speaking the same language there. So I think that's not an issue. It's just more of if I apply this adaptive color, does it make any changes that are a little bit hard for me to course correct for? So if I were to look at this shot compared to if I choose to apply okay. So this is Adobe Color. This is adaptive color. Because what it's doing, obviously it's brightening up the image, which is not bad, because that's essentially what I would be doing anyways. And the question becomes, does the AI version of this, would it do a better job of it than if I did it myself? But then again, it's like, I totally see what you're saying, Katzenell and Boggin, about why your friend would be using it. Because it is kind of crazy that just with like one click and a few adjustments on the slider, you could technically just get a nice like auto feature. Actually, how different is this from the auto feature? Hold on. So if we go back, here, let's reset. If I hit auto, okay. Let's compare that to adaptive color. All right, so this is adaptive color, and this is auto. So adaptive color, auto. Here's what I'll say, man. At least for this particular shot, maybe adaptive color isn't the best solution for me. It could end up being useful for some of these other ones, though. Yeah, so fingers crossed. I think I will end up using it, though. Here, let me reset. Let's start from the beginning. So this is the original. I've got to say, I kind of like how this looks, though. Casanella and Boggin says, seems like it's for people with higher turnover rates, like my mate. She has a whole system with custom presets. Auto moves the sliders. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, what I like about the auto is that you see exactly all the effects, and you can always adjust it afterwards. All right, let's restart then. Imagine this photo. What is the best framing of this? As usual, I want to always test out if I can do this wide angle shot, super wide angle. But I think these ones I feel are probably better to show in its totality. And I do have some upcoming shots where it's a bit more close up. So I feel like for some of these, I should kind of focus on a bit more wide, full body captures. And then the question just becomes, let's frame it better. So imagine something more like this. So it looks more like it's lounging on a hill. I think this could look good. So it's a bit top heavy. But that's fine, because I think while the face is in focus, so we want to have it nice, part of this shot is also the way it's lounging, and I want a little bit of weight onto that. Like, so it should take up a bit of the space of the shot. Because, yeah, it looks very lazy. Do you have a video on cropping? I don't have a video on cropping. I don't do a lot of tutorial videos, if I'm being honest. It's something I want to do eventually. I just don't. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome when it comes to like putting myself out there as an instructor. I don't mind sharing my way of doing things, but I also don't want to put stuff out there as if like, listen to me, I know best. So I've been a little bit nervous, hesitant about like putting out videos being like, this is how the experts do this. So, but what I will be showing soon is I've been recording behind the scenes every time I'm editing these photos in like a vertical format. And I'm hoping I can start to publish them as like a bunch of YouTube shorts or Instagram stories or reels, stuff like that. I'm working on the format. I would love your guys' feedback. So, okay. But usually one of the first steps I might do is maybe on the aspect ratio, if I just want to like explore what could be best looks. And that sometimes helps me with the creative look afterwards. So let's say we go with this. Then for this one, like I said, I don't think it makes too much sense for me to kind of readjust the lighting, because I baked in the look I want into my shot. So I know parts of it will be underexposed, but the parts that matter, like the face, looks nice and clean. So let's say if I apply my presets, which one stands out? This Falcon sunset for sure feels nice. The muted sunset, this next one, also looks pretty clean. It has a nice richness to the greens. It's a nice softness to the background. But I usually do want to do a once-over, at least on my most recent presets, to just have a good sense of like what is possible with this shot. Like I haven't done a lot with the Sage Monkey preset here, but one thing I like about this preset is the greens have a very distinct, I don't know if mint is the right color description. It's got a nice, like, it's got a unique, distinct green to it. This wet chimp, ironically, I mean, I called it wet chimp because I created this preset because of a chimp photo, so it's kind of funny. Average PP says, I gotta run, don't have too much fun without me. I try my best, I'll try. But thank you very much for hopping in. I appreciate it always. Thanks so much. I'm glad to see you on here yet again. This wet chimp, we used it on one of my other shots, but let's keep looking. The Aqua Weave, this one looks nice. It's like a super contrasty, dark, rich shot, but I think this one's not bad. Backlit Stallion, how does this compare to... Okay, so backlit is a bit brighter. I do want to lean towards a darker look, just given, just given the mood I want to portray. You know, you got this chimp kind of just hanging out, daydreaming a bit, but in the dark, in the low light. And then the other question is, what do I want the temperature of the shot? So here it's a bit cooler. I think I still liked the slightly warm version. Actually, no, this one looks good too. Moo Dam. This preset I made over from a hippo photo, hence the name Moo Dam. Man, the greens look pretty good on this one too. Although the greens are a bit distracting with this, like because I stripped away the colors except for the greens here, the grass, the leaves in the front kind of are a bit more accentuated. I feel like I didn't notice as much in these other shots. So I think we could use Moo Dam, but it means I need to adjust the lighting a little bit afterwards, so it's pointing towards the background. This one's clean. Prowling Lion. This one's sharp. So there's a few contenders here, but I think I'm probably going to lean towards the first one that really stuck out to me, which is the Falcon Sunset. And then sometimes I mix my presets. So let's say if I click on this, I can always still choose other ones and get a combined effect. Katzenell and Boggin also says, me got to go. I have swimming at 6:30 p.m. Well, enjoy your swim. I also never heard of adaptive color until 2 weeks ago. Well, thank you again for putting in my radar. I will continue exploring with it, and I'm sure there's going to be some good use. There's definitely good application to it. I just didn't hear about it, so thank you very much. Enjoy your swim. All right, so let's see if I can mix a few of these presets now together. Sometimes once I do two, it can get a little bit messy, but other times you can end up with a cool effect combining both. Like this one's pretty nice. A little bit too warm on the shot, but let's keep looking. Let me see what that mood dam. You know what? I think I like this Sage Monkey. Specifically, I like the green tone. So I think we're gonna combine the Sage Monkey with the Falcon Sunset. So I get this like different shade of green, which is a bit heavier. It's a bit darker. I don't really have a good way to describe the green, but I just like them. All right, so let's say we're comfortable with this. Now I do want to adjust a bit more. Let's see. I'm gonna keep playing now the
Point
video.
where we started having more kids around my house, and I was doing all of my grading in my garage with my clients and having a lot of fun doing it, like kind of living out my Wayne's World fantasy. But got to a point where like I was the odd man out, and like me and my clients were really not well suited to the space we were working out of anymore. And I've known these guys here at Lola for years, and I basically came to them and said like, hey, do you got room for me? Could we look at doing a collaboration and doing some grading on site? They were super excited about it, and it's been awesome ever since. Like having a dedicated space to bring clients into, which is awesome, but also just getting to be around like all this cool stuff that you guys see and all the cool activity of high-end creative posts. So it's a really fun space to like solve creative problems and do cool stuff with images after they've been captured. All right, so now you've seen a little bit of the space, and we're slowly finding our way through like the maze of cool post-production stuff back to my favorite place in the world, my room, where we're actually going to be doing the color grade today. So let's get in here and talk about like what a color grade actually looks like. Welcome to my happy place. I love this place. Less because there's like anything super magic.
Man, it's so amazing to see his space. So this is the room that he makes his videos out of?
About the space.
I think I recognize that curtain, but it's amazing how simple everything looks. But he makes it look so posh and like perfect.
Gray box, like in most color grading rooms. But it's a really special gray box to me because this is where I get to do the thing that I love most with the people who I love working with. And so like any color grade, it's always going to start here. It's always going to start with dialogue and just open-ended discussion of like, what do you see right now? What do you want to see? What inspires you? What influenced the way that you design and captured the shots initially? And the thing that I always try to remember, that I always try to remind the people I work with of, is that everyone needs a color grade, but no one really needs the same thing. We're all looking for something different out of that stage of the process. So it's my job to unearth that and figure it out and bring it to life as vividly as I can. And naturally, what's going to happen as that conversation progresses and as we start talking about different touch points or different like moods or feelings that we want to evoke, is I'm just going to find my way over to my happy place within the happy place over here at the console, and we're going to start like getting more tangible with our ideas. So where we might start really zoomed out of like, oh, I want it to feel warm, or I want it to feel sad, or I want it to feel timeless or of a particular moment. At some point we might talk about, okay, well, what does that look like in practical terms? Is it a little bluer in terms of color palette, like whatever it is? And it's going to inspire me, and I'm just going to start moving stuff around. And that's our in. That's the way I like to sort of like sneak up on the process so that we're starting as wide and abstract as possible. And we're like very, very slowly working our way into like hands-on, tangible, specific things, so that the end point ends up being something like, oh, shot 23, I want to stop down the top right corner of the frame by 1/3. Like, we get really granular and specific, but it's coming from a place of principles and sort of design intent, and we're slowly working our way into the ideal expression of those things that we want to capture and convey as part of the process. We're going to get a really good sense of what that looks like in miniature right now, because we're going to get into a remote session with my buddy Peter, who shot this short film that we're going to be doing this live grade with, and kind of working through that process in real time.
So that's his little console. I mean, clearly he's like a professional, but it's impressive. My goodness. You know what? I wonder, part of me wishes to, it'd be interesting to learn what it takes to be a professional colorist. Do I have what it takes? I don't know if I necessarily have what it takes to be a professional at it. I think I have the ability to identify good looks, if that makes sense. Like, I trust my eyes in terms of telling me when something looks good or doesn't. And I feel like it hasn't led me astray. So at the very least, if I had gone down the road of being a professional colorist, I don't think I'll be the worst. So there's at least that. Will I be good though? Who knows? Who knows? Will people pay money for me to do the color grades? I don't know.
Wider and working into more of the details of it. Let's get into it. All right, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
So the first thing I like to do in these sessions is get to know the inspirations and the emotions we want the film to bring out. That's how I get on the client's creative wavelength right from the start.
Hanley really wanted it to have a mood and a tone and kind of a dreamlike mood and a little bit of there's a sort of menacing tone in it.
That leads to maybe the first question, because watching it down, like, it definitely has like kind of a spooky, sort of surreal, but very sad turn to it as we get into like the later portion of the movie. I also ask about what tools were used to create those moods or vibes in production, whether that's how it was lit, framed, or lensed.
We use these kind of funky lenses, these kind of really warpy Koa anamorphic lenses that give you a lot of kind of wild bokeh and curvature on the end. And we built in some contrast with the lighting. So that was the direction that we started with, but it was always the intention to finish the direction with you in a collaboration to kind of build out the story with color.
Once I feel like I get where we need to go mood-wise, I ask the client to help me find shots that can be used as anchor points for the visual identity. Sometimes they're right at the beginning, other times they're in the middle or even at the end. Are there any moments that feel like they really sort of like define the visual language or aesthetic of the film? Like, it can be very beginning or anywhere in between there and the end.
I mean, I always think of the beginning as the most important image and the end.
Going into these sessions, I have a base look in place that comes from my initial read on where we need to go, but I'm ready to pivot at any point based on this conversation. In terms of what you're looking at right now, really what I'm just showing you is like a very sort of like traditional kind of photochemical rendering of image. This is basically like a modern neg stock and a modern print stock. And right now I'm like pulling a stop in the development of it. If I just play through this shot and we kind of use it as an anchor maybe for this initial opening chunk, what do you see? What do you feel? Where would you want to take this? Now we get into the grade, and I do everything I can to get out of the way and let the client lead.
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct is that this feels pretty good. I think it feels filmic, and it's got that kind of naturalistic vibe that we were going for. So I feel like this is a good starting place.
In this case, Peter was pretty happy with the starting point, but I wanted to give him my take and show him some other ideas based on the direction that we just talked about. Like maybe here at the head, like if we stop down just a bit, like I like feeling those kind of hot blades of light back there. Maybe a little bit of warmth.
Yeah, I think that's nice because it kind of anchors it in the late afternoon.
So like here would be the before and then the after with that exposure trim and then that warmth.
Oh yeah, that's better.
Some shots don't need much more than a great base look and some exposure and balance optimization. But then there's also these specific moments where we're like, we can sort of like advance the clock in a bit larger of a chunk, We might even be able to animate a little bit of sun drop within here.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's give it a try. But there's always specific opportunities to go further on some shots, whether that's extra power windows, contrast shaping, or keyframing. So I'm gonna like drop a keyframe here. And then we'll basically let it play out all the way to the last frame. I'm gonna start making the adjustment that I wanna have come in. So it's not even starting yet. Basically, once they start to walk is when it's gonna begin to kind of cue in. Something about it just feels natural to like their movement and like walking away from frame. Like I don't feel that going down at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool watching him actually work. Man, so this is what it's like to be in this business. I mean, he's like on another level, man. Damn.
No, it's good.
So, but it's like, you know, right here, if I kill that stuff, nothing's happening. But by the time we get to the tail, without these adjustments that we're keyframing in, we would be more like here. But we're now going to kind of print it down to that. And then that's going to give us a little more flow to this. And I think we just created a movie, bro.
Yeah, well done. Thank you, Colin. It looks great.
Okay, so we just wrapped up that session with Peter. I hope you enjoyed getting to sit in on some of that and see the way that I like to approach color grading and collaborating with my clients. Typically, when we get to the point that Peter and I just finished at is when we're going to come in here to the DI theater and really look at things in full context, look at it nice and big on the screen, play it down, and hit those final finesse things that really can make the difference between a really solid grade and a really exceptional grade. So this is kind of where that process would go from here. Now, here's what I will say. What I just did with Peter went exceptionally smoothly and exceptionally fast because Peter is an exceptional shooter and he brought really, really good negative into me in the first place. So it's not always going to go that quickly or that smoothly. Sometimes there's just more work and more effort that needs to go in. Peter even mentioned it. On a different kind of project, we might be drawing more windows and doing a little bit more work than we ended up needing on this one. But what I want to emphasize is whether you're Peter, whether you've been shooting for decades and you're a member of the American Society of Cinematographers, or you're at some other point in your journey, the best thing you can do to ensure the best possible output from your color grading process, of course, is going to start with what you do in camera. I've got two great free resources that I want to recommend to you for that purpose. Number one is my viewing transform called Referent. This is a full viewing transform that's going to give you a full contrast to your image so that you can actually get a nice healthy ratio in camera. Really helps you to capture a strong negative when you're shooting. The other piece is a exposure tool called Sweet Spot that's going to help you see what part of my image is actually being exposed to the sweet spot of the camera sensor and make sure that you're getting a nice healthy exposure of every single shot that you frame. I can virtually guarantee if you put these pieces into place for your next shoot, you're going to start to get stronger images and you're going to come into your color grade, whether you're working with a colorist like me or you're doing it yourself, you're going to be ahead and you're going to have that much stronger of a foundation that you can stack and build on and get really quick wins with, like you saw Peter and I able to do today. So hope you enjoyed that process walkthrough and getting to see a little bit of how I like to collaborate with my clients. If you have questions, if there's stuff that you're unclear about or you want to learn more about it, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer as many as I can, and I will see you here on the channel for our next video.
Wow, amazing. As always, Colin Kelly, just proving why he's a professional. All right, let's watch this one.
It's a globe-trotting epic using a brand new IMAX film cameras, specially made in lightweight carbon fiber and a giant blimp to solve his sound issues.
A story is a very, very paradoxical tale. The way a film camera records light onto its emulsion, that's as close as you can get to the way the eye sees. How can this format work? What can it bring to us in terms of the intimacy with the characters? Can we take this camera and get it, use it? And so IMAX lets the screen disappear. You know, it lets you immerse yourself in whatever's in front of that camera. And so once the actors got used to a very intimidating lens, very, very close to their noses, you know, what we started to get and what we started to see that we were getting was a remarkably intimate view into these characters' lives. I got to know the IMAX guys first through Batman Begins, where we blew that film up. And then after that film, I went to IMAX and said, you know, could we use your cameras? Could we actually start to, you know, shoot a major motion picture on IMAX cameras? We did a little test on the Prestige. We shot some of the visual effects using the IMAX camera just to see what that was like. And then The Dark Knight was the first film where we fully sort of unleashed the power of, you know, IMAX film cameras, and we haven't looked back.
All right, I think I got it.
And the moment you watch it, it's very evident. The quality is unprecedented.
15 perf IMAX 70mm is the highest quality imaging format that's ever been devised.
I think this is the final look. Mustafa, hey, long time no see over on the Kick side. Thanks for hopping in over there. Long time no see. You said, hi, what's up, man? All is well. I'm just editing some photos from a recent trip. I was in Uganda in March and April. So this is from the second trip to Uganda. When I was doing a photo tour, I took a couple photographers with me. So I'm just doing some edits because at the same time as I'm doing this, I'm behind the scenes. I'm working on some YouTube videos, basically creating some travel vlogs from the 2 months that I've been traveling recently. So as part of that, I figured I need to edit as many of the photos in time so that I can post it as part of the video. So the first episode, it won't really be honing in on any of the days of my travel. The second episode is when I do the shoebill stork. So that's what I've been editing in the past, past week or so. So just as a quick little update, here are the photos that I've been editing. So we started with the shoebills. You know, I did some, and one thing that's been really fun for me recently is I discovered the power of Dehancer for my photo editing creative process. So this right now, this shot right here is probably the hero shot. It's definitely one of my best edits that I've done from so far. So I think just like the nice composition, the way the light is coming off of the head of the shoebill. This one turned out really nice. And then we have some other ones, slightly more colorful, a little bit brighter to match the mood. And then we went into the next day of travel when I was heading off into the chimp territory. So here are some of the photos that I was taking while on the drive. So we got some cool shots here and there. And then we started editing some of the chimp photos. So this is from the first day of the chimp trek. Got some cool shots when it was up in the canopy, turned out better than expected. And then we edited some of these when the chimp was walking on a boardwalk up in the treetops. But I will say again, the photos have turned out really nice in large part because of Dehancer. Like I you know, a lot of credit goes to how good that tool has been for giving me like different ways to shape the colors to a way that I like. Mustafa says, I'm not bad, man. I'm in my studio right now, photography studio. Hell, well, very nice. Looks like we're all kind of doing something similar then. So, yeah, so this photo, this was one of the last photos I edited yesterday. We did a few different angles. This one actually is still probably the winner, but I'm exploring doing more of these types of like super wide angle, ultra widescreen style photos. So just like from a composition challenge as well, trying to see if like, what happens if you intentionally crop out a lot, right? So I did that for a number of these photos. And then this one, I kept it in its like full frame. And then we have a close-up of this chimp. And then this is the first one, the first photo I've edited today. Jesus, I'm kind of slow with it. I was supposed to get done with all of my chimp photos today. That was the challenge for myself. But you know what? You can't rush perfection. I mean, you can, and maybe sometimes you should, but for today, I'm going to say you can't rush it. Because you know what? Listen, this one took a while, but I'm really happy with the results. The problem for me is I have like 5 or 6 photos left that is fairly similar to this. Now, hopefully, I can just copy and paste the preset and everything I've done here, and I'll just literally slap it to the other photos. Fingers crossed. While we do that, let's continue watching this video that's kind of going behind the scenes into the upcoming Christopher Nolan film, Odyssey. I'm supposed to watch it with some friends on Sunday, so I'm super excited for that. So I figured I just want to like consume as much of these behind the scenes. One thing, and I do wonder if at some point this will make me more pretentious, all right? You guys, that's what you guys are here for, to tell me when I need to like stop getting high on my own supply type thing, right? But one thing I'm hoping to do more of is like as I watch some movies, especially in theaters that are high profile, like a Christopher Nolan or whatever, I do want to watch a lot of these behind the scenes to almost like try to imagine myself in their shoes. Like, what would it be like to actually be on this set? What it would be like to be the gaffer or the director or whatever, like, you know, whatever role, and just put myself in that perspective. And part of it is like, I guess, not to sound too cheesy, but it's a little bit of like that concept of manifestation, but not in the voodoo supernatural way. I mean more of like can I actually imagine myself in those shoes doing this kind of a routine on as a day job? And just imagine myself there. And if I can, I'll feel a little bit more like, I could do it. I could actually do this. Maybe not as good as a Christopher Nolan, but I can be someone on that team doing the simplest of jobs. So I've been lucky that I had my very first opportunity working with a team, which was the CNN project that I've kept alluding to. The video's out there now. We watched it on stream not too long ago, but technically it's playing on CNN TV. So like as like every time or in between like in the commercial breaks. But that was the first time actually seeing what it takes to be on a team project with professionals, shooting with the crazy cameras and the gimbals and the sound operators and everything. And it was really fantastic. I'm happy I had that. We're going to do more of those. So anyways, as I edit, we're going to keep watching this and hopefully enjoy.
It allows you to fully immerse yourself in the story where the audience is able to see this on IMAX on the big screen. They'll be able to experience an extraordinary moment in human history.
So we went to IMAX. We said, is there a way, as they were building new cameras at the time, so can you make them quieter? Can you encase them in a blimping system? And they invented this very, very high-tech system, this box that you put the camera into, and it makes the camera effectively silent. It's still giant, big 300-pound monster that we had to move around the set and everything, but it allowed us to photograph these guys in close-up and record their dialogue and get their performance as they were doing it. That meant we could do a whole film on IMAX for the first time.
But before we sail into the cinematic future with the Odyssey, we need to take a step back and look at the film that cemented Nolan as the ultimate cinematic illusionist. A movie about obsession, sacrifice, and the art of the trick. The Prestige. The film opens with a challenge to the audience, a question that defines the entire experience. Are you watching closely? Cinematic storytelling, by its very nature, an act of engineered deception. It requires absolute command over narrative geometry and visual grammar to guide the audience's eye precisely where the director wants it. The Prestige operates not merely as a narrative about magicians, but as a deliberate deconstruction of the filmmaking process itself. The director's intent is unequivocally aligned with the mechanics of his craft.
For me, The Prestige is very much about filmmaking. It's very much about what I do.
The structural assembly of the edit mirrors the physical reality of the medium. The cuts, the overlapping timelines, and the subjective perspectives are mechanisms designed to make the mechanics of the story visible to the viewer. It is an exercise in controlling perception.
It's also intended to suggest to the audience some of those ideas about how the film itself is spooling its narrative out. We want people really to be aware of the effect the film is having on them as it's unfolding before their eyes.
To execute this, the production had to avoid the visual traps of the traditional period piece. A stale, repressed aesthetic would shatter the immediacy required for the illusion. The genre had to be dictated by the thematic tension, not the superficial set dressing.
I like to work on films where the genre is not defined through the most superficial aspects of the piece. That is to say, I wouldn't want people to look at The Prestige and determine that the genre it fit in was period films.
Instead of relying on a static, establishing wide shots, typical of historical dramas, the visual language focused on the raw, kinetic energy of the era. The turn of the century was the frontier of modernity, a landscape violently shaped by innovation, making it the perfect setting for a story about pushing boundaries.
The Victorian era is often mischaracterized as being stuffy, repressive. I mean, really, it was an extraordinarily exciting time, human development, and the Industrial Revolution, the birth of electricity, the birth of cinema and photography.
Within the specific historical framing, the script finds its central friction, a collision between archaic showmanship and cold, empirical science. The narrative documents a paradigm shift where technicians and scientists became the architects of wonder, forcing stage performers to hijack the lexicon of innovation to stay relevant.
There's an interesting relationship in the film between the scientists of the day, who were essentially the new magicians who were going to take over from the more traditional form, and the way in which magicians of the day co-opted the imagery of science and the methodology and terminology, rather, of science to sell old tricks in a new way.
This tension dictates the entire visual methodology of the film. To sell an old trick in a new way, the camera must lie with absolute conviction, presenting a world that is dense, chaotic, and relentlessly modern. To successfully execute a cinematic illusion, the environment must be utterly convincing. The production design of the Prestige abandons the pristine, sanitized look often associated with 19th century period pieces. Instead, it constructs a world defined by density, commerce, and mechanization. The visual approach treats the era not as a historical exhibit, but as a rapidly expanding metropolis.
I want it to be like the Victorian version of Tokyo, so it's very chaotic. It's it's the start of a modern world. It's like Victorian advertising. It's the start of mechanizing. It's the Industrial Revolution.
This degree of practical world building directly informs the cinematography. When the production design provides authentic textures and structural depth, it grants the camera absolute freedom. There's no need to frame around artificial boundaries or cheat the lighting to hide poor craftsmanship.
His sets always look so wonderful and so real that I can put the camera 6 inches away from a set wall and I know it's going to hold up on the big screen.
That spatial freedom allows for a highly specific lighting methodology. The visual tone relies on deep, crushing shadows and high contrast ratios. By suppressing the ambient fill, the cinematographer actively controls what the audience is permitted to see, a literal application of misdirection through exposure.
His sets always allow me to light them in a dark, moody fashion. The material that Chris writes and the way he wants a picture to look and the way I light all sort of works together.
Wardrobe operates as an extension of the lighting strategy. By dressing the background and secondary characters in restricted, muted palettes, the faces of the primary subjects are allowed to punch through the darkness without competing for the viewer's focus.
Chris started showing me some of the wardrobe that people are going to wear, and then when we put it on camera, and what I've really loved is that it's all in this muted earth tone, darker tones that really help keep the mood of this picture. And for me, when the wardrobe is kept down, in some cases for the shows themselves, these bold whites and blacks, which create wonderful contrast, and in the scenes in streets and background action, it's all very much in a darker tonal range, and that allows the faces to pop out, and that gives us a beautiful contrast, I think.
But the true technical masterstroke of the Prestige is its reliance on naturalism over heavy stylization. By prioritizing
Prestige probably still definitely top 10 best movies. I like, top 10 favorite movies maybe, in terms of like perfect straight, start to finish kind of a feel. It's been a while since I watched it, though. Maybe I should give it another look-see. Just for reference, I was using the same preset. I say preset. I'm copying and pasting the same settings that I've applied to that first image that we worked on, just to speed things up. I just applied it to all of them. Also to make sure there's a consistent look and feel across all of these similar photos. Here's maybe where I might do the photo settings all over again, because now we're on a separate chimp in a different lighting environment, so it probably won't carry across from one shot to the other. Actually, let's see. Let me copy and paste, see what happens. It's not bad. The colors actually don't look that bad, but I still think I want to redo this from the beginning. So let me see. Last one to test. This one doesn't look bad either. Okay. Well, listen. Let me end the recording now. Cool. So Mustafa, in case you're still here, I was referencing something earlier. So let me show you what I mean.
In the story with.
So I say this with a huge asterisk of I'm not sure if it'll be the right format or not, but something that I've been doing in the past number of days when I've been live, I created this custom vertical format to reflect, like posting for, let's say, Instagram Reels, TikToks, Stories, YouTube Shorts, that kind of stuff. Because one thing I've always struggled with is how can I create, especially if I'm spending so much time being live, if I'm editing for 3-4 hours in a row, that's like a lot of time that I can't do making like shorts and stuff, right? Like, I mean, I guess I could, but it's a little bit hard for me to do that, especially because a lot of those shorts and stuff, it requires me using soundtracks that will get me copyright struck right away when I'm streaming. Anyways, the point is, how can I, as a content creator, come up with more templated content that I can hopefully figure out a good formula for, rinse and repeat. So this is my current thinking, is if I do some format like this where I can do a time lapse. This is not meant to be like a proper tutorial video. You're not going to see me go like, hey, step 1, you do this, and then step 2. Maybe I will if there's some key steps I can just put as caption in the middle. But basically what I'm thinking is, in the bottom, you can see obviously this is me synchronized to the edits. And then on top is the actual edits that I'm doing. And then in the middle, what I'm currently thinking is this is where I could show the unedited version of the original photo. So you can see the whole time, it probably won't even change. It'll just show the flat, raw photo in the center, and then maybe some text overlay just explaining what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And then by the end of it, when we get to the final shot, what would happen is the top and the bottom should fade to black, and only the unedited photo in the center remains, and then you'll see a before and after effect. So then it'll switch between like the unedited to the edited. So anyways, I'm just trying to think through this a bit further, make sure that this concept actually makes sense. And then if it does, and if I'm able to create this like over and over and over again, like, every time I'm live streaming, if I can just hit this record button, have this ready to go, and then it's like, boom, okay. This should be something I can share quite quickly, quite consistently. And it gives people, if I post this on my other platforms, it also gives people a glimpse into like, oh, okay, this dude is like live streaming and doing the actual editing process. Let's check it out. Or it just puts me out there a bit more, puts more content out there. So that's my thinking. And then, yeah, we'll see. There's a little bit more work remaining in terms of figuring out this formula, if it actually works nicely. But yes, that's what I'm doing here. All right. Let's keep watching this.
Available light and practical sources, the film achieves a granular, documentary-like authenticity. It strips away the theatricality of traditional studio lighting to ground the inherently theatrical subject matter.
And the lighting to really let us feel the textures, and a lot of the film isn't lit, it's just light, natural light from windows and that kind of thing, to really get a sense of reality, of immediacy and a tactile quality to each setting, each location.
This commitment to immediacy dictates the camera movement. Steadicam and handheld operation is utilized, not just for agility, but for psychological alignment. It locks the focal plane to the human element.
Most of the film is handheld camera, and therefore it's always at eye level. It's always at the level of the characters engaged in the story.
Shooting handheld in a practical environment requires a lighting plot that allows the actors to move without hitting dead zones. The solution is often broad, single-source lighting that illuminates the volume of the space rather than individually shaping each face. It's an aggressive, highly efficient workflow that captures raw performance.
We shot 360 degrees. It was basically one lighting setup and 4 characters. And I thought there was a wonderful energy and spirit to the way that we shot it. And it was probably my favorite day on the pic.
By providing kinetic energy and practical lighting, the camera acts as a participant in the maze. It observes the deceit at eye level, making the eventual narrative turn exponentially more effective. If the cinematography places the audience directly on the ground level of the narrative, the script structure is designed to eventually pull them into the rafters. A standard thriller relies on withholding information to create mystery, but the Prestige relies on a highly calculated, layered release of data. It forces the audience to simultaneously navigate the labyrinth and observe it from above.
To me, it's interesting to be in the maze with the characters moving around, making the wrong turns with them and all the rest. This film does that, but it also then tries to show the audience the whole maze and see where the different characters are finding themselves.
To achieve this structural duality, the screenplay had to abandon linear progression. The narrative engine of the film is driven entirely by the framework of the original novel, a framing device that was almost left on the cutting room floor during the adaptation process, before being salvaged by co-writer Jonathan Nolan.
My brother actually put most of the diary material back in. I had stripped a lot of it out. And he put that back in, and I think it was a very good thing that he did too, because it was an aspect of the, again, Christopher Priest had developed this too. Again, I had stripped a lot of it out, and he, most of the diary material back in. I had stripped a lot of it out, and he put that back in, and I think it was a very good thing that he did too, because it was an aspect of the, again, Christopher Priest had developed this fascinating narrative structure in the book.
You're watching a character read another character's thoughts from their diary, so you have access to two different characters' perspective at the same time.
The dual diary mechanic is a brilliant piece of narrative engineering. It allows the script to embed exposition with active, emotionally charged scenes. Instead of an objective narrator feeding facts to the viewer, the information is filtered through the bitter, unreliable bias of the protagonists.
So theoretically, these are all subjective points of view. What they add up to, though, is an omniscient position for the audience. The audience is sort of seeing a lot of things that the characters themselves aren't necessarily seeing. They're getting the complete picture.
By weaving these subjective accounts together, the screenplay manufactures a unique psychological vantage point. The viewer is granted total omniscience, fully aware of the tragic collision course the characters are on, while the characters themselves remain trapped in their own narrow obsessions.
And I thought that would be a very interesting tension between the more subjective sort of storytelling that I've done in the past and, in a way, a more traditional omniscient position really for the audience.
The tension is the very definition of cinematic sleight of hand. The screenplay treats the audience not as passive observers, but as active participants, being intentionally guided through a psychological trick. Every scene transition, every voiceover cue, and every timeline jump is a carefully calibrated mechanism designed to manipulate perception.
The filmmaker, almost more so than the novelist, has a very close relationship with the magician in terms of the way in which we're using the release of information, what we tell the audience when, the point of view that we're drawing them into. We use those techniques to fool an audience.
And just like a stage illusionist, the filmmaker must construct a compelling distraction. While the audience focuses on the intricate mechanics of the diaries and the timelines, the true thematic weight of the story is being subtly planted in the background. The mechanics of the edit establish the maze.
That he did too, because it was an aspect of the, again, Christopher Priest had developed this fascinating narrative structure in the book.
You're watching a character read another character's thoughts from their diary, so you have access to two different characters' perspective at the same time.
The dual diary mechanic is a brilliant piece of narrative engineering. It allows the script to embed exposition with active, emotionally charged scenes. Instead of an objective narrator feeding facts to the viewer, the information is filtered through the bitter, unreliable bias of the protagonists.
So theoretically, these are all subjective points of view. What they add up to, though, is an omniscient position for the audience. The audience is sort of seeing a lot of things that the characters themselves aren't necessarily seeing. They're getting the complete picture.
By weaving these subjective accounts together, the screenplay manufactures a unique psychological vantage point. The viewer is granted total omniscience, fully aware of the tragic collision course the characters are on, while the characters themselves remain trapped in their own narrow obsessions.
And I thought that would be a very interesting tension between the more subjective sort of storytelling that I've done in the past and, in a way, a more traditional omniscient position really for the audience.
The tension is the very definition of cinematic sleight of hand. The screenplay treats the audience not as passive observers, but as active participants, being intentionally guided through a psychological trick. Every scene transition, every voiceover cue, and every timeline jump is a carefully calibrated mechanism designed to manipulate perception.
The filmmaker, almost more so than the novelist, has a very close relationship with the magician in terms of the way in which we're using the release of information, what we tell the audience when, the point of view that we're drawing them into. We use those techniques to fool an audience.
And just like a stage illusionist, the filmmaker must construct a compelling distraction, while the audience focus...
Okay, pause. I think this is the final result. I like this a lot. Again, Dehancer pulling through. I mean, so this is what I edited inside of Lightroom, you know, just using my own presets and just whatever I felt like. And again, like I got to this point thinking I liked it a lot. One thing I might have changed if I, you know, spent more time on this, I might have increased a little bit more contrast on the chimp's head and maybe a little bit on the hand. But otherwise, I don't mind this kind of faded look. If you've been watching some of my edits recently, I kind of prefer a little bit of a faded look, especially like soft, mimicking like soft light coming through. So it's quite nice. But then once I put it through Dehancer, I do feel like it just gives a richness to the shot where it feels like it stands on its own. I don't have a good way to describe it, but I just end up loving how the shots look once I apply that Dehancer effect on top. So, you know, it's almost like a before and after in and of itself. Even though I really like this as it stands, I love this. So there's kind of like 3 steps of my process. You see like hold on, let's show it. Bum, bum, bum. Let's just copy the crop. So basically, each of my photos right now, it's going through. Since we're watching a video that's talking about the prestige, we've got 3 stages to this. I forget what the prestige magicians tricks things are called, but there's the turn, there's the something, and then there's the prestige, right? It's kind of the same. We've got 3 turns. We've got the original raw unedited. Then I've got, once I applied my presets, my color corrections, my creative concept onto it. But then we've got the final creative process utilizing Dehancer. So it's a 3-step process. You get the before, after-ish, and then full after with Dehancer. And I like how it's working out. Let me change this color for later. Cool. All right, now we get to work on, this could be one of the cooler shots of the chimp, just because it's a very unique angle. I had this chimp that was lounging on the ground, and for a few seconds, for a few moments, we locked eyes, or at least it was staring directly into my camera. And so I was machine gunning away, trying to get as many captures, and these are the ones that I think were the sharpest of all of the shots. And then I was also repositioning myself to make sure I got it in frame. I was shooting with a fixed lens, an 85, so you know, it is a pretty tight crop. So it's just like a close-up of a head, which kind of looks eerie. Depending on how I edit this, it can look like a severed head. So I got to be careful with how I do this one. Basically, I just got to make sure the body still resembles a body, even though it's going to be nice and like blurry off to the side. So let me kind of review some of these shots. They're very, very similar, just a little bit change in terms of the framing. My assumption is as I was taking these photos, I was trying to reposition the head in the right place for the final good composition. So I'm leaning towards one of these final shots. I mean, this one, it's a bit more centered. I think I'm leaning towards this one to edit. Definitely will edit this vertical version. And then maybe one of the ones in the beginning. Let's see. Unfortunately, this one is slightly blurry on the eyes. I say unfortunate because this one, it's the only one that I have here marked where the head position was fully like leaning back and looking up, looking upside down. The others are more of like a side tilt. This one's unique because the eyes are closed, but I think I prefer when the eye is looking slightly blurry. This one's sharp, but there's not enough space at the top. This one of the eyes is sharp. This is the problem. I was shooting at I think I was shooting at 1.2. Yeah, I was shooting at f1.2. This one could be, here, let me mark it. It could actually be both eyes are fairly sharp. I think this one's better though. This one's even better. Okay, so I think I marked the ones for further edits. Let's go to 4-star. And we're going to start with this one. All right, let's see what we can do. Let's see what kind of magic we can create.
On the intricate mechanics of the diaries and the timelines, the true thematic weight of the story is being subtly planted in the background. The mechanics of the edit established the maze, but the architectural blueprints were drawn in the screenplay. Adapting Christopher Priest's sprawling novel required Jonathan and Christopher Nolan to fully understand the correlation between a stage illusion and narrative geometry. They are not merely parallel art forms. They rely on the exact same psychological triggers.
A good illusion works very much like a novel in that it has a narrative, it has a story. And for a long time I was trying to think if I could get something out of that, if there was a story that could be told in the same way so that the various secrets of the story are unravelled in the way that a magician unravels the secrets of a trick.
To unravel those secrets cinematically, the script had to translate prose into visual grammar. A novel can rely on internal monologues and purely literary devices to convey subtext. A film cannot. It demands physical, tangible elements to represent abstract concepts. The screenplay's greatest triumph is its ruthless efficiency in converting the book's thematic weight into repeating physical props.
What I've liked about the screenplay of The Prestige is the way that the Nolans have turned very many of those metaphors into visual metaphors.
The most prominent of those visual metaphors is the collapsing birdcage. What begins as a simple, slightly cruel parlor trick establishes the baseline visual language for the entire film. The bird, the cage, the duplicate, the sacrifice. These elements establish an internal rhythm that echoes through the narrative, ultimately culminating in the massive, horrific water tanks of the final act.
Pete, I mean, in the case of The Prestige, the birds in cages and the idea of wound up working its way into every aspect of the film.
By anchoring the script to those repeating visual motifs, the filmmakers dictate the audience's subconscious expectations. They establish a pattern and they exploit it. This is where the script transcends traditional adaptation. Story about magicians executing the pledge, the turn, and the prestige. It weaponizes that exact 3-act structure against the audience.
And then without really realizing it, the viewers are also being shown an absolute magic trick throughout, and they're being told they're being shown a magic trick, but you don't kind of realize it, or you don't believe it.
The arrogance of the audience is the filmmaker's greatest asset. We are explicitly given the rules of the deception in the opening minutes. We are warned that we are being lied to, yet because we are so conditioned by traditional cinematic storytelling, we inherently trust the camera. We refuse to believe the trick is happening to us until the trapdoor drops. When a narrative requires a fundamental shift in reality, crossing the threshold from practical deception into genuine science fiction, the introduction of that element must be handled with precise diegetic control. To arbitrarily introduce a magic machine would break the established rules of the universe. The script solves the structural problem by anchoring the impossible to a historical anomaly. Nikola Tesla.
Well, Tesla is just a fantastic figure, just an extraordinary life, extraordinary man. In a lot of ways, I felt too big to deal with in a film about himself. I think approaching him in this tangential way, where he's a minor character but very important character in a bigger story, was a very interesting way to address his specialness, his extraordinary achievement, really.
By relegating Tesla to a supporting role rather than a focal point of a biopic, the director utilizes the inventor for his narrative utility. Tesla functions as a bridge. He is the mechanism that allows the script to introduce an impossible technology without shattering the audience's suspension of disbelief, largely because his actual historical record is already steeped in myth.
What I really liked about Tesla was that during his lifetime, he built and patented many inventions which he then buried in secrecy, and they've never emerged. And so it seemed to me quite fair game for a novelist that Tesla would be able to come up with something the like of which had never been seen before, which was very useful to me as a novelist and extremely useful to the character as a magician.
The thematic resonance of this decision is absolute. The script draws a direct parallel between the inventors of the modern age and the stage illusionists of the era. Both deal in the currency of wonder, and both are entirely consumed by their obsessions. The blocking and framing of Tesla's interactions with Angia establish an intellectual kinship, two men isolated by their own ambition.
I mean, for me, the relationship between Baldwin and Tesla is interesting because they're both people who can see beyond and conceive things beyond everyday reality and understand effortlessly the world that they've devoted their intellect to, but don't perhaps understand the best way to sell it, don't deal with the political or practical realities of how you channel that talent.
To successfully execute this parallel, the casting of Tesla required an actor capable of exuding an innate, almost alien authority. A conventional performer would read as a caricature in a period setting. The role demanded a specific, sovereign presence that could command the frame instantly, without the need for excessive dialogue or posturing.
David Bowie was my first and only choice to play Tesla, so he took a little bit of convincing, but it's relatively easy to convince somebody when you're going to them and saying you're the only person that can play this part. So it took a little while to convince him, but he signed on in the end, and I got my Tesla.
Hold out other hand.
Bowie's casting is a masterclass in utilizing an actor's existing cultural weight as a cinematic tool. His presence instantly legitimizes the science fiction elements of the third act. When he steps onto the screen, the audience implicitly accepts that the rules of the film are about to change. The machinery is no longer just a prop, it becomes the catalyst for the final, devastating turn. The architectural design of the Prestige demands a flawless execution of the third act. The pledge and the turn have been established through meticulous cinematography and a decentralized, labyrinth narrative structure. But the resolution, the prestige, is where the cinematic illusion must assert its absolute authority. Disorientating the viewer is a matter of basic misdirection. Concluding the trick requires a total directorial command.
He simply disappears? That's not a trick. But he has to come back. There has to be a
prestige.
Exactly.
A prestige.
Bringing the narrative back means pulling the disparate timelines, the repeating visual motifs of the bird cages, and the dueling psychological obsession into a singular, devastating focal point. The editing pace accelerates, forcing the parallel diaries to intersect. The tension is manipulated with surgical precision, relying on an almost classical understanding of cinematic pacing. It is an exercise in controlling audience respiration.
But on this one, he reminds me of Alfred Hitchcock, the way he's doing things. Suspense he holds tremendously. I can see what he's doing with the shots. And then the sudden shock, tremendous.
The final visual revelations, the grim reality of the surviving twin, and the haunting geometry of the drowned clones are not merely plot twists. They are the ultimate payoff for the film's structural engineering. In these closing moments, the camera remains entirely objective. It refuses to editorialize or offer moral comfort. It simply presents the brutal, mechanical truth of the illusion. The cinematic trick is complete, but the director's objective extends far beyond the closing frame. A truly effective narrative engine doesn't shut down when the screen cuts to black.
I like films that spin off in all sorts of different directions in your head once you've seen the film. So I would hope people would walk away having been hopefully very entertained by the story, but that there would also be all kinds of resonances and, I don't know, interesting thoughts banging around the brains.
That lingering resonance is the defining characteristic of this work. The Prestige is a meticulously engineered mechanism built to force the viewer into an immediate re-evaluation of their entire cinematic text. By turning the camera, the edit, and the script into active participants in the deception, the film stands as a masterclass in sovereign filmmaking, testament to the power of executing a complex, unapologetic vision with absolute technical control. If you like this video, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, buddy. That was good.
Performance is too theatrical or is over. What does it mean to say a performance is too theatrical or is over the top? And is that always a bad thing? This
Triton!
is one of my favorite moments of performance from the last few years.
Bid our father, the Sea King, rise from the depths full.
Yo, what movie is
foul in
this?
his fury.
And it's Willem Dafoe doing what he does best, committing fully to a moment in a way that is equal parts mesmerizing and unhinged.
And plunges right through your gullet!
You from, Texas, Mr. Burrow?
Oh, I'm from all over.
Defoe's performances often channel something that feels to me larger than life, something evocative, sometimes terrifying, but always bold and undeniably cinematic.
I'm all ears.
But he's also sometimes faced criticism for being too big or doing too much in his performances. He's had a long, successful, and varied career in film, but I think recently there's been a newfound appreciation for his talent. And 2024 marked his third year in a row as the most watched actor on Letterboxd. This status of most watched isn't just an indicator of how much audiences love to watch him on screen. It also reveals that he's an artist filmmakers love to cast. He's had recurring roles in films from Wes Anderson, Robert Eggers, Yorgos Lanthimos, and over the years he's done work with Guillermo del Toro, Paul Schrader, Martin Scorsese, Catherine Bigelow, Sam Raimi, David Lynch, Sean Baker, Lars von Trier, and David Cronenberg, just to name a few. He has incredible range, not just in the types of characters he plays, but in the kinds of movies he takes on. He's frequently appeared as a leading man, but his performances in smaller supporting roles are often even more memorable. So what makes Defoe's work so unique and evocative? Why is he such a versatile artist that so many filmmakers are happy to include in their films?
What do you see? What is around me? Is it dark?
And what makes his work such a unique force in cinema, despite having never won an Oscar and not being cast in the kinds of lead roles that typically get the most recognition in the industry? I
No
think the
shot,
answer
he's
lies
never
in
won.
Defoe's unusual background and radical perspective on the craft of acting.
My face has a mind of its own, but I let it go. I don't censor it.
When you think of Willem Dafoe, you might think of a moment like this, or maybe even something like this. Dafoe's unabashed, expressive theatricality, especially with his face, is a big part of what makes him so recognizable. As the Green Goblin in Spider-Man No Way Home, each emotional beat is marked with a magnified expression. These are often punctuated with clear movements that act as a kind of emphasis. Or look at this smart little salute he gives in a very different role as Klaus in The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Here, the way he moves down to the diminutive crouch as he almost slinks away is comically unnatural, which works perfectly for a Wes Anderson film. But these choices aren't just comedic. They convey something sincere about the character's fragile ego, sensitivity, and loyalty and duty to his position as part of Zissou's crew. It's clear from moments like these that Dafoe isn't afraid of coloring a little outside the lines of what we expect from a typical Hollywood performance. This means at times, moments of his performance can almost feel like exaggerated caricature, at least compared to the muted naturalism of most of the performances we see these days. And I'm totally aware that caricature and unnatural are terms that are usually taken or used as criticisms or insults when it comes to acting. But here's the thing about Dafoe. He just doesn't care about realism.
That's the beauty of it, in a funny way, that it's not real, that you're constructing something that's other than reality.
The result is that Dafoe's Green Goblin isn't just a villainous scientist. He's the archetype of comic book menace. It's an almost cartoonish villainy that shows he really understood the assignment of playing a villain in a comic book film. And it's why, for many, he's one of the most memorable villains in any of the superhero films. When he plays an evil biker in To Live and Die in LA, or a criminal lowlife in Wild at Heart, he isn't just the film's bad guy. It's almost as if he's playing a symbolic representation of the devil himself. When he plays a lighthouse keeper, it doesn't just feel like any lighthouse keeper. It feels like the iconic lighthouse keeper, the sum total of every grizzled sailor from every storybook. His performance helps elevate the film from something that feels like a story of something that happened to something more like a myth or fairy tale. He's not the only one who pushes the boundaries like this, but he's one of the few who does it this consistently and boldly. I don't know many people who can go head to head in a film with Nicolas Cage and come out with the more intense performance in the film. But why is Defoe's
Man,
bold
I'm
and stylized approach so rare?
Try to make.
Listen, I somehow always find time to watch as many movies and shows as possible, but this dude always shows me how much I'm missing. I didn't know there's a movie with Willem Dafoe and Nicolas Cage. Damn.
Make a bad painting. Try to act badly. Try to be lousy in that scene. It's interesting. You've got to find ways to let you not worry and be free, you know? That's all.
Take a look at this moment from a conversation between Dafoe and director Robert Eggers.
Perhaps like indulging in the performance.
But I don't see it as that. It's funny.
I don't think I would. That's a cruel assessment.
No, no.
Here, Eggers tries to bring up the stylized theatrical quality of many of Dafoe's performances, but feels awkward about it, almost as if he's afraid of saying something offensive.
Sometimes a very naturalistic performance, to me, looks lazy and not engaged. Where I like it a little kicked up.
These days in popular culture, we so strongly associate realistic with good performance that implying a performance might be unrealistic, unnatural, or stylized is often taken as a critique. It's hard for many people today to even imagine that an actor might deliberately strive for something unrealistic. But there was a time when most actors in theater and film didn't have realism as their ultimate goal. For these actors, the purpose of the theater was to create something larger than life. For them, the whole reason anyone would come to the theater was to see something other than reality. But in the early 1900s, Russian actors pioneered a radical new approach to acting. Their goal was what they called psychological realism. And this method of acting, taught by Konstantin Stanislavski, eventually revolutionized film acting when it made its way to Hollywood in the 1950s. These days, most actors, whether they realize it or not, follow an approach to acting that's grounded in the Russian tradition. And this approach is so ingrained that it affects not just how people act, but how we judge acting culturally. If you want the long version of this, I made a whole video about it, but I bring up the short version here because it's important background for understanding why what Dafoe is doing is so different. Dafoe is one of the people who consistently seems to be challenging these norms, even knowing that it won't always be what people like. Talking about his performance in Speed 2 in an interview he gave with Variety, he said this.
Okay, we're done with this series, so happy with the results there. Oh, we still got a lot more to go. How much more? Okay, I say a lot, but we got a lot of these will be copy and paste. Once we lock in one look, we can copy it over. So we got some where the chimp is yawning. Then we have this one loner chimp on his own. Then we've got a series here of the same chimp. So I'm going to probably keep the grading somewhat similar. But we have some cool shots coming up with this one particular chimp. All right. Man, today's going to be good. Assuming, okay, right now it's 9 p.m. Look at my cat. Assuming I maintain a level of productivity here, then let's see, I got 1, 2, 3 more. We have 3 different chimp photos remaining to kind of capture. So if I can get that done in the next hour, then hells yeah, we've achieved what we wanted to today. I set the goal that I was going to finish all the chimp photos today. So then tomorrow we start fresh with the next day of my trip and so on. Look at Nala. Look at this pretty girl. Let me bother her real quick. Bloop. Bloop. She's like, what the hell are you doing? All right. Pretty girl, pretty girl. Cool. That was my little break. Actually, I should probably stretch a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a 1 minute, 2 minute. Let's do a 2 minute. I just want to stand up and walk for a bit. So I will be right back and let my legs stretch out and everything fun. Uganda, a sanctuary for the wild. Home to primates that swing through misty canopies and lions that command the sprawling savannas. Every corner teems with life. From the elusive shoebill in the swamps to the great apes of the rainforest, this land pulses with the rhythms of nature and the warmth of its people. Join me in this video as we explore the Pearl of Africa together. All right, that was good. I did a bit of squats. I went to go see where Kimbap was, and I bothered him a little bit. I think I need to do this more often on my streams. Just like take a couple minutes to step away. I keep reading, man, there used to be so many things I would see pop up on my social media about how bad it is to be sitting for extended periods of time, right? So sitting on my ass on this chair for like however many hours straight. I have read that that's like so bad for your health. So I've always been curious, like for these like professional live streamers, people who do it, you know, and are successful at it. It's like, yo, these people are like sitting on their ass for how many hours? That can't be good. So I wish I could figure out a way to program it in somehow. But my point is I will try to remind myself at times to maybe just like take a couple minutes, literally walk away from the screen, go BRB, and just, yeah. It also kind of gives me a jolt of energy here, so I feel more rejuvenated. I think I'm ready for this next batch of photos to edit. But we're saving the best for last. I think some of these shots here are actually going to be the best ones, depending on how I edit it. But we got like a really cool framing. You know, you got this one chimp looking straight at me. We've got something interesting going on in the foreground. Like in terms of the foliage, there's a lot happening here, but it's not too messy. It's not too noisy. And like the face is fairly sharp. And we have a few different angles of this. We've got some without the haziness of the foliage in the front. We've got this cool composition where it's doing the proper lounge. So yeah, I think these are going to be some really fun ones to edit with. Okay. Oh, I think I'm ready. Oh yeah, I went to the gym today, and man, I must have slept funny, but there's like a proper knot in like the upper back area. It's like the area that everyone who gets old, it's like everyone has the same particular spot. It's like just like that right in between the shoulder blades, and you can almost reach it if you reach back. And it just felt, yeah, I was like, God dang it, I'm getting too old for this, man. So, anyways, just me complaining. Let's do this. No more. Let's keep listening to this dude talk about how amazing Willem Dafoe is, which I agree.
People give me a hard time about that. They tease me about the size of my performance, that it was over the top. But I swear to God, I stand by that performance because there was no other way to do it.
And what makes his commitment to these bold swings impressive to me is that it's 100% a choice. We've seen he absolutely has the ability to give totally naturalistic performances.
Back in the workforce.
Say what?
New job?
Yeah.
Interesting hours.
And his work in the Florida Project is probably the best example of this. Here, he's so natural, he doesn't for a moment feel out of place among a cast that mostly consists of non-professional actors. The character and the performance feel deeply lived in and true to the world of the film, which is depicted incredibly naturalistically by director Sean Baker. And he's delivered many other naturalistic performances throughout his career in movies like Mississippi Burning or The Hunter. So we know when he does something other than this, when he's pushing the conventions of film performance, it's a deliberate choice. And I think his willingness to push the boundaries of performance like this has its foundation in his unusual background as an actor. Defoe didn't start out in classical theater, independent film, or a child actor as many successful actors do. Instead, he got his start in an experimental theater troupe called the Wooster Group, which he was committed to and involved with even after he started a successful film career. Avant-garde theater like this often works without any sense of conventional story or plot. Defoe has mentioned that he's also taken inspiration from No theater, a form of Japanese performance that condenses acting into deliberate, slow, and regimented movements while still trying to express deep emotion. Since the actors wear masks, all the emotion must be expressed through subtle details in movement. In these forms, there's less emphasis on what's being conveyed through the performance and more on the playful creativity of how something's being expressed. Usually, when we think about how performance works in film, we're thinking about an actor using the tools of acting to construct a character within a storyline or plot. And then as the audience, we derive emotion and meaning from the character's arc within the story and what that story means. But more avant-garde and abstract forms of performance are often
I'm struggling with this
asking
one.
us if we can derive.
I'm struggling with what the right framing for this shot should be. So, like, for example, I might do a framing like this where the yawn, the mouth is somewhat centered in the shot, and you can see some of the leaves, like the bed of leaves that he's like surrounded by. You kind of see the full extent of the tip of these leaves. So yeah, it's like more center balanced, but still showing something in the background here. But then I kind of don't mind a perspective where the face is a bit more close to the edge. I'm just trying to see, because now we're getting to, like, it almost looks freaky. We're so close up to the chimp that we don't, it almost doesn't look like a chimp, depending on how your eye gravitates towards what. And that could work in its favor as like a freaky shot, but it can also be somewhat confusing. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm also, for some reason, my mind feels like it looks more balanced when the chimp's face is close to the right. So if we do a cropping like this, I feel like it's almost a bit more balanced of a shot compared to centering it. Because once we center it, it feels like there's all this empty space on the right. And I totally get that you're supposed to have that look space depending on where the chimp's looking, but we also don't really see the eyes. It's more a focus on the teeth here. I'm not sure. All right, so watch me struggle for a bit as we keep watching this.
Give meaning not from a story, but from the very qualities of the performance itself. It forces the artist to find what makes a good performance in the movement, rhythm, vocal delivery, emotion, and presence.
You don't paint the tree, you paint what you see. And what you see is color, shadow, line. Everything gets broken down. It's similar with acting a little bit. Concentrate on those things. Don't try to express the tree. Express the fundamentals.
And this is where Defoe excels, by bringing his experience with more abstract performance even into films with conventional story and plot. In his work on screen, the playful how of his performance often has a lot to do with the expressive capability of his face, the cadence of his speech, but especially the physicality of his acting. There are many examples of how he uses physicality that I could highlight, but as I was researching this video, the one that stood out to me the most was the way he uses walking. Look at this scene from the Florida Project, where basically all he does is walk from the lobby to his office. In just the way he moves as this character, so much is conveyed. There's a sincerity, you can tell he really takes his job seriously, but you can also tell this guy is tired and overworked. Through that, though, there still comes a certain playful energy. I honestly didn't know it was possible for one actor to come up with this many distinct walks. From role to role, the way he moves his arms, the cadence of his step, or the energy of the walk always feels like it tells you something about who he's playing. And this part of his performances is there when he's at his most natural and his most theatrical. Watch any of Dafoe's roles and you won't just find an expressive face, but a body that expresses the character with every action. And these actions for Dafoe are the core of what acting is.
As an actor, you're concentrating on doing things, on committing to actions and folding into the actions and submitting to the story.
But this doesn't mean as an actor, he's trying to consciously express the character with each action.
Sometimes when people don't understand performing very well, they say, wow, you made some great expressions. I didn't make the expressions. My body made the expression because I was doing a particular thing, and then it manifests in that expression. But I'm not thinking about that. My body gets driven by something else, you know, something mysterious.
Instead, his advice for actors is to do things for the sake of doing them, to be so immersed in what you're doing that you're not lifting the cup because of what it means for the character. Instead, you're lifting the cup because you're lifting a cup. Performance for Dafoe is about being present in what the character is doing and giving yourself the freedom to go where this takes your physical experience. I think what really sets him apart is he gives himself enough freedom to go beyond what might feel natural or real.
I gave it everything I got, and I get nothing. A guy like me never learns.
In one interview, he said this is also his advice for life, to lift the cup for the sake of lifting the cup. I take this as a call to be immersed fully in what we're doing as creatives or artists, to create the art for the sake of doing it, not because we have some goal in mind for what it is going to accomplish. We live in a world where so much of what motivates people is the money or the fame that we might get from having successfully done something. Oftentimes we're even motivated by a desire not to fail instead of just a desire to do the thing itself, to create the art because we find the act of creating it meaningful and fulfilling on its own. What if instead we're motivated by a desire to be immersed in whatever we're doing with a sense of wonder, curiosity, and even play? I think this is where true artistry and creativity lies. And if you're deeply immersed in creative play, maybe it'll take you to something deeply realistic or naturalistic. But maybe it'll take you beyond that. And I think more people should give themselves the freedom to explore where their creative play naturally takes them. Dafoe's work reminds us of just how boundless the possibilities of performance are, and just how fun a performance can be. He's not the only actor working that is willing to embrace theatricality in film acting, but he's one of the most prolific and daring. And his success speaks to the fact that while we might expect a level of realism from performances, we still as audiences often enjoy performances that take us somewhere else. Cinema isn't just for telling a story inside a convincing imitation of our world. It can also be something entirely new, entirely separate from reality. And that's where Dafoe's work often takes us. It reminds us that appearing on a stage or screen is a chance to offer the audience something beyond their everyday world, but which still resonates with their emotions, fears, sense of wonder, and curiosity. He fully embraces the possibility of acting as a craft, as an abstract art form, and even as play. And he doesn't seem to take it too seriously. He's willing to fail. And I think that's what makes him one of the most interesting and compelling actors of our time. I think naturalism and realism in film are incredibly powerful. A lot of my favorite performances are performances that feel almost impossibly real. But I think if we conflate good acting with realistic acting, we put performance in an incredibly tiny box and miss out on the full potential of what cinema has to offer. One of the things I talk about in this video, and something that's a frequently occurring theme on my channel, is the difference between what is being conveyed and how it's being conveyed. In a sense, this is like a core thesis of my work, that in order to understand media, whether it's film or TV or the news, we need to look at not just what is being conveyed through the media, but how the media is conveying that. And this is why I love Ground News, the sponsor for this video. Because
this guy's also, man, everyone's sponsored by Ground News. Yo, where's my sponsorship?
News, but to understand the structure.
Listen, once we hit 10K subscribers on YouTube, we're almost there. Less than 100 subs away. Once we get there, maybe finally some of these brands will be like, hey, we want you to, we want to sponsor you. And I'll be like, hells yeah.
Of the news as a whole and how that shapes the meaning that is communicated through the news. When we look at news stories, there are the facts that are communicated on the page, but there are a lot of other factors that influence how we perceive meaning through the news, and Ground News specifically highlights those for us. So for example, look at this article. Female protagonists reach parity with men in top grossing films of 2024. On Ground News though, you don't just get the story, you can see the bias distribution of who is reporting the story. You can quickly browse different headlines. It lets you easily see how different publications interpret the same events in different ways, and how headlines often tell an incomplete story. One of the features I really love is that with the Vantage subscription, Ground News tells you who owns the source the news is coming from. I love how you can browse through all the headlines and easily flip through different sources without even leaving the app. For me, staying informed isn't just about getting the facts that you get from an individual news story, but understanding the media landscape and the narratives that are being conveyed through the media. Ground News is a platform that helps you grow your media. He's also taken inspiration from No Theater, a form of Japanese performance that condenses acting into deliberate, slow walking. Look at this.
Oh shoot, I hit a button. Where was the Ground News? Oh, okay, the video is basically over then.
Individual news story, but understanding the media landscape and the narratives that are being conveyed through the media. Ground News is a platform that helps you grow your media literacy while you consume the news. I'm happy to offer 40% off the Vantage subscription. If you use my link, you can go to the link in the description or go to ground.news/ThomasFlight to get that 40% off now. You can click the link on the screen or in the description. Again, that's ground.news/ThomasFlight. Go to my link to get that 40% off the Vantage subscription so that you can have a better understanding of the news you're consuming today. Thanks again to Ground News for sponsoring this video.
Thank you very much, Thomas Flight. Next up, a skill we stopped teaching.
The people who walk past me as I'm scribbling in my sketchbook think that I'm drawing, but I'm not.
What?
I'm doing something that people don't teach anymore. It's spring right now and the back streets are packed with blossom trees. Catching people's eyes as they turn the corner and watching them notice the blossom is wonderful. They smile and take a quick photo, and I think most of us would do the same as a first instinct, especially compared to drawing. It's simply way more convenient, time effective, and frankly requires less skill to capture any form of likeness.
Quick pause. You know what? I'm glad I talked it out loud because it's sometimes good. It's part of the creative process, right? I'm going to pat myself in the back for this photo in particular, because I think my intuition, whether it was right or not, I'm happy with the results. So I was voicing earlier my challenge trying to figure out the best way to frame this particular photo. Like the original shot, you know, it's like a huge canvas, and I didn't know if it makes sense to position the traditional way where there's a lot of space to the left. So either center the chimp's face in the middle or put it more towards the left third. So there's a bit more of that, you know, follow the gaze of the chimp. However, something about something about it didn't feel right. It felt like too much negative space over here. It just felt too left heavy. So ultimately I decided to go with this, where it was actually, in some ways, maybe on paper you're breaking the rules, because now the chimp's face is very close to the edge of the frame, so it looks claustrophobic. But I was like, you know what? It's like this kind of crazy shot of a chimp's mouth open in like a more aggressive manner. So I don't think it's actually the worst thing to make it feel cramped or claustrophobic, because it almost fits the mood of like this, you know, because it looks almost like it's screeching in your face. So it's almost like this aggravated feel. So anyways, I went with it, and thankfully with all the edits that I've ended up doing, I love this shot. This shot looks fantastic. I'm like, damn, you know, can I do this again? We're gonna copy and paste most of the effects to the next photo. But yeah, I'm happy with the results. So
we all take photos to share, for memories to look back on when we're not rushing about. But the ease of image capture has got people in a bit of a muddle. Because really, our first instinct when something beautiful catches our eye should not be to capture it at all. We've all seen people at concerts who spend the majority of time watching it through a screen, and as much as it frustrates me, I totally sympathise. We have all been tricked. So what am I doing if I'm not primarily drawing? Down the road, there is an art school here named after John Ruskin. He wrote that he teaches drawing so that people learn to really see, not so that they have nice drawings. The drawing is just the tool that I use to keep looking. And that might sound a little misleading, as I'm still making marks, but I think ever since artists started sharing sketchbooks on social media, we all started to think that the act of drawing is about production, but it's not.
I need to send this video to a friend.
It's about attention, the most valuable thing that people can harvest from us. You might say, oh, come on, Sam. Whatever you're doing, you're still sat down making images, and I just don't have time for that. I got places to be and things to do. But actually,
hold on, let me send this video to a friend of mine.
Is looking. And if you spend even 5 minutes a day on social media, you are doing the exact same thing as me. You are already spending that time looking. And I'm no saint. I suffer just like you do. I've been tricked to staring at my phone till 4 a.m. in a barrage of reels and TikToks, this loose promise of connection getting hijacked. But trying to better understand the world and feeling connected are things we all genuinely need. The question is whether you're looking in a way that feeds you or empties you. And to be clear, I can't sit and meditate. I've never been able to. If I try to do nothing and just sit and absorb a scene, I often find my mind drifting or wishing I was doing something more productive. But when I draw, I find that it anchors me. It is no more than that for me. It is my trick into meditation. You don't impose yourself on the thing because you simply can't. You don't have the skill. Even the best artists in the entire world know that they cannot render reality. So you just let yourself be curious about it. And you'd be amazed by what's out there when you really look. And my sketchbook is full of failures. You start to notice things that have nothing to do with what you're drawing. The way the light is moving, the layers of sound, the particular quality of the morning, the energy, the endless levels of detail, all in one real moment which will never be exactly the same again. And you realize that much of the low-level anxiety that society has kind of forced upon us is from looking the wrong way. And as you pull out a sketchbook in public, you might get a little anxious about what people might think, but the more you look and the more you understand, the more you relax and realize that you are probably more in the moment than anyone else. Drawing pulls you into the present, and the present turns out to be full of all the things that you crave when you picked up your phone for a little bit of dopamine distraction. You just needed the excuse. Drawing is my excuse. And when you try to draw something and fail, which happens to some degree with every single mark you make, you discover what you didn't know. I thought I understood a cherry blossom tree. I've seen or even taken hundreds of photos of them. I could describe them in words, but the moment I tried to really sit and draw one, I realized how infinitely complex and rich the foliage is. It's all just these flickering, bleeding shadows with seemingly no outer form. So maybe I can try and get the essence of how the branches stutter in the wind, and then I start to see how the petals connect to the stems, and then I see that they're all at slightly different stages, so I can't draw one bud like another. It reveals exactly what you don't understand. A photograph doesn't do this. A photograph makes you feel like you've captured something without ever having to understand it. A good example here is drawing the face of someone you love. In that process, you find yourself looking at their face in a new way and noticing little flickers of smiles and frowns, peaceful pauses and little shifts of discomfort, nothing you can get from a photo of them. But then you might share with them this stick man that looks like a 4-year-old did it. And that's fine, because if you take the process seriously, you'll actually have understood a little bit more about your relationship with them. As the act of drawing is as much about you as it is the thing you're depicting. A photograph doesn't even exist in this same realm. And drawing from a photograph is a great technical practice, but it is limiting. And even as an art teacher, I used to work for an organisation that taught kids to draw by copying still images and printouts, and it taught them that the value of their drawing is the ability to draw, not the ability to look. And this whole idea of drawing just to get better at drawing does slightly frustrate me, because nobody goes for a walk to get better at walking. You go because of what happens to you while you're doing it. The thinking that comes loose, the thing you notice that you wouldn't have noticed sitting still. Drawing is the same. You bring your attention
this
to
guy's
things
like
rather than
a guru.
letting something.
I feel wiser just listening to him.
I want to finish here with a note from Elements of Drawing, which was John Ruskin's book. And he states that whether this book is to be useful to you or not depends wholly on your reason for wishing to learn to draw.
You know, he said, what did he say just now? He said, people don't walk just to get better at walking, so you shouldn't draw just to get better at drawing. What was I thinking? In my mind, because I said this in a video during my recordings, it's a phrase that a friend of mine, we used to joke and he used to say it all the time, but it's like, it's the Dave Chappelle line where he said, I'm like Evel Knievel, I get paid for the attempt, right? So I think that line does resonate, where even it's like, okay, if I'm editing a photo, yeah, I guess you should be editing photos or drawing or whatever the art or the pursuit is, not necessarily always with the goal in mind to get better, but sometimes it's just the act of doing it can just put you in its own end state. So I totally agree. Like when I'm editing even these photos, now obviously I'm filling up my mind space with listening to a YouTube video, but technically it's a video I'm finding some enlightenment from or value. But even just in the emptiness, I guess you can it frees your mind to just kind of wander as well, and I think that's nice. Anyways,
and this whole idea of drawing just to get better at drawing does slightly frustrate me, because nobody goes for a walk to get better at walking. You go because of what happens to you while you're doing it. The thinking that comes loose, the thing you notice that you wouldn't have noticed sitting still. Drawing is the same. You bring your attention to things rather than letting something take it. I want to finish here with a note from Elements of Drawing, which was John Ruskin's book. And he states that whether this book is to be useful to you or not depends wholly on your reason for wishing to learn to draw. If you wish to obtain quicker perceptions of the beauty of the natural world and to preserve something in your mind like the true image of beautiful things that will pass away, I can help you. If you desire to only possess a graceful accomplishment, I cannot. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate your support. I have a Patreon called Art Loud, where for £3 a month you can see all of these videos early and support me to make more. Right now, you can watch my deep dive into how Van Gogh was one of the only artists, I think, who managed to paint these blossoming trees successfully.
You know what's going to be funny is like this guy made such a nice video, and then it turns out it's just an AI generated voice. But no, this is good. I like this a lot.
Just for patrons right now.
Sam Hamper. All right, David Fincher time.
So if you're trying to finish a script, certainly as a director, I mean, not that he was a writer, but if you're trying to work with the writers to conclude something, you know, you're going to have huge problems trying to do that whilst working at very long days that we work as well.
Start with your chin down a little bit more, like he's a little lower than that. There we go. And roll sound. You want to take 5. And action. Got? One more. It was a little bit too fast.
The first line is what? What is it?
Oh, you're telling me.
Have I watched?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what David Fincher movies I've seen. I feel like I see his name all the time, but I can't figure out what he's done.
Fine, that's what we want. If they don't kill everyone, you know, to get rid of it.
He is extraordinary, you know, utter total confidence, which he inspires from the people that he works with.
I would never have thought it was his first film. And where he's placing the camera, I've never seen it done that way.
Oh, he's in
His ideas seem very
Alien.
cinematic. Even then he'd joke, he said, yeah, this is a sort of Hitchcockian bit, you know, and here comes John Ford. And so there are all these little nods, you know, and it was a lovely energy, you know, it was the kind of, the energy of somebody confident and someone who was a fan.
A sliver at the bottom of the 65mm frame is the ground, and then it's mostly sky. So we would do the split so that along, like the first, if you imagine that pretty much just to the left of where the turquoise, the tent is. Right. Just to the left is where the left side of frame is. Not very good weather for this.
Dusk.
Yeah, but dusk in a blue sky means
No, it's
no
gonna cloud. It's
shoot.
supposed to rain this afternoon.
Okay, dusk in a blue sky means no shooting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Are we painting the sky?
No. Dusk in a blue sky. You can't paint the sky right along there. Okay, Ezra?
Gotcha.
We're cool on the concept now. We're all hip to this. You
Dusk.
saw it right here.
Dusk in a blue sky.
Dusk in a blue sky. What? Man. I didn't hear that one.
Are we painting the sky?
No. Dusk in a blue sky. You can't paint the sky right along there. Okay, Ezra?
Gotcha.
We're cool on the concept now. We're all hip to this.
on
You
tape.
saw it right
It's on
here.
film. Let's get a blue sky.
Ezra just
Let's shoot it
said,
anyway.
if it's a blue sky, we don't have to shoot. Right, Ezra? Hi, Joe.
Yeah.
I just want to be surrounded by freaking geniuses. If only I remember I think I was on a road trip with a buddy of mine, and I was saying, like, you know, what is the sign of true success or something to that line. But we were talking about, like, okay, imagine raising a family. How would you want, like, you know, how would you make sure you can make sure your children have like the best life and stuff? And it's part of the whole discussion about, like, yeah, what's the, you know, pinnacle of success and meaning in life, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, it led to some things around, like, well, how would you, if you had enough money to raise your kids properly, the best way possible, what would that mean? And what are the drawbacks when you're born wealthy? If your kids are born wealthy, and, you know, some of the learnings you won't be able to, you know, ascribe to them or like provide them when they have everything. But anyways, where am I going with this? It was like, man, if I have kids, I wish I was at a situation where, like, the most ideal education for a child, my child, would be one where instead of like a typical school, it's like they get to be mentored by some of the greatest minds. Like, imagine if you somehow had all the connections, you had all the money, where you could hire a David Fincher to spend and like let my kid spend like 6 months shadowing him, or just like, you know, like following him around and like being educated, understanding how he thinks, how he works, all of that. So like just being able to like pick some of the most creative geniuses in any craft, right? It could be sports, it could be artistry, it could be in the technical field. To me, that would be like the greatest gift. If I could have been born just being able to tag along and, you know, talk to, meet with, like learn from, that'd be so great. Anyways, random.
I like that one. Let's see that.
Let's keep editing.
Yeah, that one? That's it.
Guess the job.
That's the one you want. Yeah.
He's the only person I've ever seen David have reverential respect for is Jordan.
I like that a lot. Yeah, can I get something through that window in there? Okay.
But wait till you see it sprayed down so it's balanced.
Okay.
You know, it would really be helpful to us if we could determine
exactly
the
where the master
parameters
is.
of the shot.
All right. Well, let's get a camera here. You know, I might see over as far as that is where the paper is.
That's for close-up.
Right, I understand. But if that was out of the way, I would see the muslin, wouldn't I?
Yes, you would.
Okay. Well, that would be problematic. So we can't get the same effect without going.
Oh, did David Fincher do 7? I think he's the guy, right? I just rewatched that movie last week. So good.
And what amazed me, he conducted the whole unit from this monitor, you know. He used to sit in this monitor and look at the film, and they'd say, you know, via, well, just talking to the camera crew, you know. He'd say, move the camera left, push it in a bit, make a mark there. This is all through the monitor, you know, which amazed me. I'd never seen that before from a director.
I'd like A and B cameras on these, please. Can I see A and B? And action! Is that it? Okay, let's put it in sync, guys. Total abandon now. I hope someone goes to see this movie.
New Line Cinema and producer Arnold Kopelson team up with director David Fincher in 7.
Very nice. Much better. Okay, here we go. I think we're ready. Here we go. Quiet now. And rolling. Marking. And action.
I think he figures, oh, what the heck, you know, let's give it a try. It has no sense of the degree that this game is going to change his life. The audience doesn't know any more than I do, so they're never ahead of you. You know, a lot of times you do pictures, you go, I don't know, I think they're way ahead of me, or they have information that the principal character doesn't have. One of the things that's really great about the game is that the audience doesn't know anything more than I do.
Who's behind this? Who did this to me? Why?
I have enough stress in my life.
It's not Gordon Gekko. It's not a guy who rips the heart out of his foe and takes a bite out of it before the guy dies. This is a guy who's maintaining a portfolio.
Yes.
Ostensibly, this is a movie about a guy who's dead, and then the last scene, he's brought back to life.
No!
Oh, he did Fight Club. Holy sh! Oh man, I didn't know. Oh, I need to work on my memory and remembering some of these directors.
His luggage is not there. I don't mind seeing some luggage back there, but not very much. Pretty sparse, pretty much what you see. And he turns kind of, he walks over here, we track with him. He walks over. As we go through here, we cut. We go to medium. Security task force man, he'll be in a chair, like that in a chair, feet up on a rolling chair. So Jack wipes in the frame here. We have single on Jack, single on the guy. Cut to the two shot. Jack turns, walks over here on the back. In the background, we see the red Camaro. We see Tyler walk down the sidewalk, jump into the red Camaro and take off. And Jack turns and walks out of the frame. We rack focus back to him. We see a guy running after him going, it's my fucking car. We'll look at that later. And then we cut back to this, back to the guy as Jack walks in and he says, oh, wait. Then we go back to the master as he takes the form. He takes the form with him and he walks out. Back here to the master as he walks away. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay.
You want this high or low count? I like the inside there.
I like that kind of there where you have on this side it's high and on the back side it's low enough that he can be upset. And he's on a pretty high chair. You know what I mean? Still be comfortable, yeah. I would think it's actually those things that kind of center between these two, maybe slid slightly this way. This bush has to go away. We're going to track back this way. He comes in here, we tilt up, right about here, and we see the fourth window down. Yes. Fourth window down from the top, second one in from the right.
Along the bike.
Where the bike. Those windows are actually gone. There's smoke machines inside it, generating smoke. It's coming out. I've got smoke machines in the fourth window down, second window over from the right. Okay. We have enough smoke pouring out that it looks like they just put a fire out here. I'm going to want to have a couple of flickering fluorescents just on the floor just to breathe the smudge cloth around just so I have little things of smoke coming out behind bushes and stuff. The doorman is here, he's talking to one of the police. He turns to this, he says, oh, can't look here, you need to police the block off. Rat focus in the foreground. He stops thinking about that. He turns and he walks out. As he walks out of front, the doorman steps up into the foreground. We do a little slide back like this to see him. And he says, do you have anyone you can call? Cut. You're done in here. Cuts back to him and he goes, looks at the camera for a second and says, all condiments, no food, how embarrassing. He bends down out of the thing. We go to low angle shot of him as he takes something we see over his shoulder or his POV clean, Marlo's number, and then he stands back up and goes tracking shot. I continue out through here. There's a phone booth right here. We're going to do a half circle around the phone booth. I want one complete piece of track that comes out over the top of this. All the way around the 27 millimeter, ends up over here. We're going to bring him the whole way. So with those three setups, we kill all that stuff. Then we just have to shoot the over the shoulder and the low angle is easy. He leans into it, pick up the thing, and he looks at it, and he's gonna rise up into our shot. Manly man.
Cool. All right. We got the next shot finished. Here's the final look. I like them. Now, one thing. Oh, wait, hold on. What's going on here? Huh. That was in my original. Okay, I'm curious. I was going to say, I noticed something. I didn't zoom in this far into the top left section, but there's something odd here. Is that in the original? Oh, okay. I see. That was just part of the tree. It must have been like moss or something on the tree. Okay, fair enough. I thought for a second I must have applied some kind of filter effect or something. But yeah, anyways, final look. I really like this. Some things that kind of probably carry across with how you might see my edits. The style that I've been enjoying the most of late tends to be like reducing the contrast up in the backgrounds, usually in the upper side of my photos. So kind of mimicking a little bit of like sunlight, but a bit of a hazy sunlight. So kind of trying to replicate or emulate the haze effect. So imagine in like the early morning with some fog or mist in the sky or mist in the air, that kind of a thing. I really like that look. So it's a very soft light approach, which then also on top of that, this might not necessarily go hand in hand, but it's been looking nice so far, so I'm keeping with it. Because usually I feel like if you're going to go with that soft, misty look, it should look fairly clean, like no noise, smooth background. Whereas one thing I've been doing as I apply Dehancer effects, I've been applying a bit of a graininess, a little noise into the background, into the entire image. So in some respects, maybe that takes away from that feeling of like soft, you know, like if you look at this one, this is before I put it through Dehancer. So now it's like glass smooth, right? Everything surrounding this image, especially in the upper part, is like smooth. Maybe that gives a bit more of a misty look. I'm not sure. But regardless, I've been enjoying putting a bit of grain or noise effect into the shot. I've been enjoying dark images. And for the series of chimp shots, I've been appreciating a little bit more of like one of my presets in particular when it comes to the color of green. So a little bit more like dark style of green. I keep thinking like mint, but I have no idea why I say that. I don't even know what the color mint looks like. So, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with these shots. So now basically we're on the final series of chimp shots. So we're almost there. This is the last one, so I'm very excited. And most likely we're just going to edit one of these and then just apply the effects across all of them, similar to what we've been doing for some of these others, because it's of the same series. So I'm going to hopefully find the best creative decision for one. We'll create the look and then carry it for everything. This photo right here, it looks super clean, fairly sharp. Let's see, we're at around 100%. It looks like it's pretty sharp. So this one's probably the winner to edit with, but let's see, there might be a lot of duplicates. Yeah, I mean, these are like shade difference. So we'll stick with, actually, why is that? I feel like I see a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. It might be that the second shot, both eyes are looking straight at the camera. This one has a little bit of an ugly light. You've got this like random strip of light on the nose. So I think compared to this one, it's probably not as good. Although the eyes are nice and sharp. Damn. Let's keep looking. Let's see. Now we're getting a bit more of a widescreen angle that we can work with. This one is nice, poetic, or it's like a bit more artistic because Chimp is looking away. So I think I'll edit just one of these. Then we get another... Okay, one of these hazy ones I want to keep because it adds a nice effect across the board. Let's just see which one's the sharpest. We'll go with this one. And then face is somewhat covered up, but it could be a nice, you know what? Yeah, we'll edit this one as well. This could be a vertical shot. We'll see. All right, so how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to edit 5 photos, hopefully quickly. We'll see. It is now 9:55 p.m. So let's see if we can get this all done in the next like 10-15 minutes.
Oh, the bush. Bush is gonna be good. You guys never have to do that. But I do have. No, I have a previs. I previs that we had this built in the computer. We figured out exactly how high we would have to be to get the back of the track out of our 185. So they have all the specs. They have all the specs. And they'll be able to tell you exactly how far away from the door and how far away from this. Too fast, too fast. Everything else is perfect. Back to one right away. Right away. Too fast.
On this
Yeah. On the pan and the truck. Just get through there. The one thing we gotta see is that coffee. Will I be able to move through here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
You want to weld this out, you mean?
No. Or just to be able to take a steady cam through here?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out where the path is going to be when he comes in looking for space monkeys. And instead of it, it might be better for him to come here for the stove and then have so much activity in here that he can't get through that way and he has to sort of be forced to come back through here.
How much do you need for steady cam?
Oh, no. I'm just saying we weren't planning on dressing because originally we were talking about these could be
Oh,
all
being
piled with stuff.
Right. No, we don't.
Just pack it up on the side so that I do have
Yeah.
room for
Because I've also got a window up here which isn't shown yet. That's going to give light to this as well, so we kept all of this glass on this front.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's something that's like in here when we want to, we can roll it down. When we want to really be able to see out, we'll stage a scene where we don't see it, and then we'll.
There's some nice views now. Like this stuff right all the way through here.
How you can always kind of just move and peek around.
Yeah.
Yeah, come back over. This neighborhood is basically the neighborhood that you see. It is not a suburban neighborhood. It is not. It is the outskirts of a completely industrial area. So there's nobody on the streets here at night. When he says, Tyler and I were alone for a while in every direction, it's like, we don't have to do anything with traffic. If we see one car going by in one of our trucks, it's totally fine. Clifford. Yes, sir. See that factory back there?
Yeah. You mean that silver thing along there? The red lights?
You don't have to actually have anything coming out of the statue. You can have it behind it. You can have it in front of it, but I want activity. I want to look like
something going on.
And just steam. That's all I want to see is steam.
Okay.
I want a car up on blocks behind that. We'll spot it from the front porch, but it should stay there. It's continuity for us. Okay?
And during the day, we were saying that we were going to play that lot like.
The lot can still be there, but I want. But the one thing that I want that the ringer thing that we have is that car up on blocks. I want a Vista Cruiser on blocks.
One thing I'll say, I've noticed a change in my color preferences recently-ish. In the past, I feel like as I'm editing this, when I'm mimicking the sunlight, there was a time when I would have preferred a warmer tone. So even here you can see if I were to increase the temperature of that kind of up, the top left sunlight, this is probably an effect. This would have been a style choice at some point for me. I would have preferred this kind of like this warm sunlight coming through, kissing the face of the chimp. And like, there's nothing wrong with this at all. I don't know what it is, but I guess more recently when I see this kind of golden tone or this yellowish tone, it's not fitting my my mood or my personality. I don't know. Something's changed where all of a sudden the thing that I used to really prefer is not what I like anymore. So now, like for example, if I remove that warmth, I'm still applying an effect where you've got like this kind of sunlight hitting the chimp, but it's like a neutral, cool tone. And this kind of like whitish tone, for some reason, I've been really preferring that. And I wish someone could tell me. I wish someone in this like photo editing journey, if this is like a common route, someone could tell me like, you're at this phase of your photo editing, color grading journey. Oh yeah. We've all been there. In the same way I used to be super into like saturating everything and like an HDR kind of a look. Yeah, I'm curious where I am. Anywho, this is turning out really nice. I think I prefer having the bottom half of the chimp fairly shrouded in darkness. I'm okay with having it fairly pitch black and having no details, because obviously it accentuates the side of the chimp that's being lit up by the sun. So this is turning out really nice. I'm very happy with it.
He takes a swig of beer and he hands it to Tyler. He says, we should do this again sometime. And Tyler kind of looks at it, takes a swig of beer. And then later on, when we cut to, he's having a flashback and he realizes he's Tyler now. We see him sitting here by himself and he takes a swig and he drops him in the bottle around the fridge. So that will happen here. Bringing it in on these pads, and if you ever get up and look down on the house, and right around that corner, and they have golf clubs and they're hitting balls into the highway. Put something really disgusting underneath
like a street light type, damn type thing on that side.
On this side, but I want a little bit of light into those trees back there, and possibly a practical back there that might, if we had standing water in the puddles, we just get a little reflection. But other than that, it's just blackness and top light, whatever's in here. And this should be hideous. And then we cut, and we see the whole bus in our 240 frame, and then the bus starts to pull away, and the camera booms up, and we realize that the bus has dropped him off right in front of his house. They're now that Tyler and Jack are so famous that all of the like municipal bus drivers are like their taxi service. They can go anywhere they want. The bus will take them. So that's, we do that. The bus would pull away. We'd crane up and we'd see him walking up.
It's so cool watching him describe what he's got in his mind. Like the vision is so impressive.
In the front door paper.
So we're in the bus camera?
No,
or we're outside?
No, we're outside. We're probably right over here. We're probably on a 40, so we're a little bit flatter, not too wide. And our bus is blocking, so the whole frame looks like a bus. And then we see it's lit up inside. If he goes down the thing, and as he goes down the steps, the bus pulls away, and we do a little crane. So we're probably chassis back here, so it goes straight. If we go back a little bit, it's fine. But I don't want to do this. Is the same bus? Yeah.
They'll all be the same bus, basically different advertisements.
Yeah. You're trespassing. And then you're trespassing, and then I will. I like that. I can go back down. I like going around. Okay. Okay. And action.
Sorry about the misunderstanding. It's not gonna happen. It's not the end of the world. Just go away. Go.
You do that as you're passing.
You were trespassing.
Now this
We'll have to call the police.
Okay, show me B. Be rolling. Watch the scene. This is. I want to be able to cut to this.
Look, fella. I'm sorry about the misunderstanding.
I like that.
It's not gonna happen. Not the end of the world, just go away. Go. Because you were trespassing. I will have to call the police. Don't be a dick.
Okay. Hey, Mark. Okay, and one last one.
Where's your car?
Well,
car?
There's racks on top. Cases of film and stuff. Everything else in here is rotten as far as dressing is concerned. Using the chairs by the feet, I can do the thing. In case, can I have one of those fluorescent lamps with a magnifying glass so I can see the pornography to begin with?
So you'll look at it through.
Yeah, we'll see it like that. And then, so the scene's played from back here. We're kind of in this little cubby hole, looking this way, and we see this whole, we see the projectors, and we'll probably start on the projectors and pan over, and then Tyler will be center frame, and over on the left side of the frame is Jack, and Jack says, Tyler works sometimes as a projectionist. He's talking right to the camera. Film doesn't come in whole, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it has to be done, you know, has to be shown in reels, and that's why you need the cigarette burns. Then we cut to low angle shot of Tyler. He's not even looking, he just hears it. He just points. We'll give him a little spot to point to, and he'll just point to that spot, and we'll make the little appear later in post. So he points up and he sees that, and then we cut back to the master, and Jack continues to speak to the camera about what it is. Tyler gets up in the background and walks over. I'm going to go to a little piece of coverage, either from here with the camera where we see Tyler put the reel up and start threading up the projector, or from here, I'm not really sure. But anyway, he's still moving left and right. He goes and does this. We'll have to give him some kind of little lesson ahead of time of how to at least get it in the film path. And then both these will have to be burning. Dowsers down, but I don't want to see it all spill. They work? Yeah. So, and we may actually have to run them, so we should have somebody here to at least have one of them running, even though it's a total leak victim. He had a part-time job.
Mookie.
Now, a movie doesn't come on one big reel; it's on a few. So somebody.
Mookie MC says, I've been lurking and enjoying the look at your process, but I need to head to the office. I will tune back in when I get there if you are still streaming. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you lurking. That it means a lot to me. Thanks for hanging out over on the Twitch side. And obviously, yeah, do your thing. Make your dough. Work hard at work. I don't know if I'll still be streaming. I will say one thing I do miss when I was doing like longer hours, like when I was streaming like 6 to 8 hours, because then I was able to catch more people throughout the day. And it was nice because then I was like, oh, I was meeting a lot more people. It was also helping in terms of like the growth of the channel. So there's a part of me that wonders if I should do some extended, maybe I'll do like 1 or 2 days, like do like an extended whatever 6 hour or 8 hour type stream. It's just, yeah, I haven't been able to figure out since I've come back from a few different projects. It's been hard for me to figure out how to juggle that properly. So I have not. But it would be nice because, like, you know, as I'm hearing you say, like, you know, you're going to work, maybe you'll catch me later. It's like, oh, damn, if I was streaming for like 5 more hours, well, then obviously. But, yeah, we'll see. After these chimp photos, I'm hoping in the next 15, 20 minutes I'll be done with them. And that feels like a nice finality, if that's a word, to today's stream. Finally finishing all these chimp shots. This photo in particular and the ones that are coming up, I'm so happy. I'm excited to be editing this one. This will probably end up being one of the top photos from the entire 2 months. So I'm spending a little bit more time kind of fine-tuning, doing a little bit more refinement, and I'll do it after we come back from Dehancer as well. But generally speaking, this looks pretty good to go. Once we get this Dehancer look built in, I'm happy. Ooh, this one looks good. Fuji Color Natura 1600. So this one's a current contender. Let's keep looking. This one looks nice. Fuji Color Superior. This is one I tend to use all the time. Let's see how they compare. This one's slightly more contrast. This one's got a faded look. I prefer the faded look. So right now, contender number 1 is Fujicolor Superia 1600. Let's go. This one looks clean. As usual, it's my Kodak Aero Color 4125. For video color grading, this tends to be my go-to. All right, let's compare this to Superia. So Superia is more faded. This one's more dark. I think Superia is still the winner. So I think I'll just go with that one. We'll go through the rest, but I think, yeah, we're going to stick to the Kodak Superia look. And then we'll start to apply things on top. Film compression doesn't look as good on these photo edits compared to in video. So let's see. I'll do it as a final step maybe. Let's just see the differences between Kodak Endura glossy paper, 2383 Kodak, and Fujifilm. Generally speaking, I lean towards the Kodak Endura glossy paper for my wildlife edits. It just tends to be a bit more of a natural look. Whereas like you can see here, for example, the Kodak 2383, it's a nice look. It's very, there's something about it that feels artistic, but it also feels more touched up. It feels more, or it feels less natural in terms of the coloring or the fade colors, things like that. Nothing wrong with it, but I want to hopefully lean more into like a natural lighting, natural look as much as possible. So even here as we're talking, I think this Kodak Endura is still the best option. And then let's see what other quick changes we can make. No, that's fine. Same thing, we're gonna look at applying a bit of film grain. I think just this like 65 tends to be a decent amount. Mookie says, cool, not enough hours in the day to get everything done. Is that the Nikon ZR or a different mirrorless? This is the Nikon ZR, yep. So this is from my trip in March and April. So I was gone for the past 2 months, or I was gone for the months of March and April. I was staying in Munich with a friend, but then in between I had like 3 different projects. One was with CNN, which I'm super excited about, CNN Create. It is now public. The second one was for my own photo tour in Uganda. And so that's what we're editing right now, is some of the photos from that trip. So I took a couple photographers with me, and I kind of took them around for 9 days to have these wildlife experiences, including spending time with these chimps. So, I think we will apply a bit of the vignette. But yeah, so I for the 2 months of traveling, I shot with 2 Nikon ZRs. So basically, I borrowed one ZR from the Nikon Middle East African team out here. So shout out to them. And then, yeah, I was dual wielding 2 ZRs. Most of my time was focused on video. So I did shoot more video than I did photos. But I'm super glad being a hybrid shooter. I'm obviously very happy that I did take some photos as well, because like the past number of days of editing some of these shots, I've like rediscovered a passion and enjoyment for editing photos, and in large part because of Dehancer. Like I've really been enjoying what I'm able to do with my final look and feel when I run it through a program like Dehancer. Like the way the shot feels to me is like there's a richness to the shot. There's a little bit more soul. There's a bit more character color that gets brought in. It's more vibrant. It's just a lot of things that I didn't actually expect. So yeah, it's been really cool. Let me take away the halation. I think it's a little too distracting. All right, I think this is the final look, and then I say final look, I'm going to bring it back into Dehancer or Lightroom, and I might apply a bit more lighting effect coming in from the top. Mookie says the ZR seems like an amazing camera, especially for the price point. Nikon and Red did well. Yes. Listen, I need to convince Nikon to just like promote the shit out of me. Come on, you know? Not that they treat me badly. I'm just saying like, man, I somehow need to show to them that I can add value if they, invest in me, whether that means any of their upcoming lenses or new cinema cameras and stuff like that. Hopefully I can get their attention on that front. I do work with them, so it's not like it's not possible, but sometimes I feel like, I gotta, it's a big ass company. I'm just one small content creator, but at least some of these photos that I'm editing right now, I'm so happy with them that once I start posting these on my social media, on Instagram, they will for sure be happy. They will, listen, I don't say this often, but these photos have been turning out super sick, honestly. Yeah, even this one. So now I just applied the final rinse, if you will. I wanted to apply a bit of a linear gradient here. So just make the top half of the chimp feel like it's just being kissed a little bit by sunlight through a foggy, like a misty morning kind of a feel. So I've applied a bit of the bloom effect within Dehancer. So there's a little glow to the chimp. It softens up the chimp quite a bit, which I'm happy with. I think one of the counterintuitive things I've learned over time is that having the most sharp and textured subject doesn't always do it justice. Like as long as the eyes are sharp or there's a nice light catching off of it, if the rest of your subject is soft, it can actually help quite a bit. Because one, it draws your eyes straight to the sharp area, which is the eyes. And then two, it just feels more dreamy. I don't know. Mookie says, I will send a strongly worded email of support to Japan. Hells yeah. You know what? I don't know if their main office is in Japan. I seem to remember them saying something about Singapore. I don't actually know. Anyways. All right. I think this is the final look. Going once, going twice. Let me see. And like I said, in the past, I might have actually done this where I increased the temperature. But honestly, I prefer this more neutral, boring hospital white light coming through more than a warm one. And then I'm just exaggerating it just to see what it looks like. Do I like this? Or do I like this? Okay, I think we'll go with this. I really have been kind of like pushing myself to just be super comfortable in the darks. Like, drop down, don't worry about underexpose, like just really bring down the light. Because if I bring down the exposure, it obviously lights up parts of the face. So then that becomes the focus. So like even here, right, the part of the chimp's face. This looks fantastic. I'm happy with this. All right. Now, we're not done though, because I say unfortunately, but not really. Unfortunately, because we've already got a winner in here. This shot I think looks great. But we still have a few more photos from the same sequence of shots that I need to test out. So which ones do we say? It's all the 4-star ones. Hold on. Okay, so we got this photo. How does that differ from the previous one? Let's see. So this one, we had like a full head tilt looking at the camera. This one's more of like a side angle. Otherwise, it's fairly similar, but let's go ahead and continue editing on this. I want to try different angles as well. Hold on, is it this photo or the next one? I think both could work, but let me see. For this one, how wide of an angle can I go? If I do a 16:5, because we already got a nice hero shot in the prior one, I think this one will do a bit more creative composition. So let's go ahead and try to do this ultra wide angle capture. Something like this. We need to balance out that tree. Yeah, so it's going to be like chimp's face on the bottom left-ish, left third, and then the hand on the right third with the tree to kind of help out. All right, we'll try something like this. Unfortunately, this one leaf is a bit distracting. We'll see if we can reduce it, or let's see how my edits come across. Okay. So this is literally just copying and pasting my edits. I think it's a little too wide. Let's see if we can make this work. This might actually be the better answer. Yeah, okay. I think instead of the 16:5, we're going with the 2.3, the 2.4, what is it? 2.4:1. Okay. Let's just go as is. I'm not as, this one I don't care. I don't have to be as refined. I will go with this and then see what happens. Mookie asks, did you capture that image and at the time you knew you had something special, or do you normally find that out later when in Lightroom? My answer for you is going to be a little bit like, this is a very trip-specific, activity-specific response. That's not necessarily what happens on most of my trips. Sorry to be so convoluted. Hold on. What do I mean by that? So one thing I did differently on this most recent trip when I was mostly in Uganda, I don't know if I did it as much in Tanzania right after, but when I was in Uganda, I wanted to challenge myself, partially because one of the guests that I was traveling with, he's amazing at this. What he does is he just like shoots, he tries to compose and edit, shoot the shot as is. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure there's a terminology for it where you like, you try not to do too much post-production, right? So how can you shape the light and the look all within the camera itself when you shoot? And so I was also trying to push myself in terms of like, how can I challenge myself? So I was shooting a lot of underexposed photos. So even these shots here, if you look at the original, it was pretty underexposed. So what I was doing, I think I was shooting at like ISO 100 fixed, and then just looking at the viewfinder or just looking at the back screen, I would shoot to see what I think was like the best way to showcase the chimp, knowing that there's a shot that is going to be super underexposed. So when I'm in post, I might not be able to rescue the details as easily. But I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. Let me see if I can more properly answer your question. Did I capture that image at the time knowing I had something? So yeah, what I'm trying to say is like during this trip, when I saw this on my camera, it looked really good because I underexposed it and it looked as if what I would get if I put it through post-production. So for these, I definitely knew I had something from the get-go, but I always have a fear, and it was only exacerbated during this. My fear is always that it looks good on a small screen, but then once I put it through, I'll realize that it's super underexposed and I can't rescue any of the details. You know, you have that fear, especially with the highlights as well. It's like, oh, you know, you don't know, and then it's like, boom, it was blown out. So I was concerned about that exposure, so that was always the lingering fear. But I did know I had something special just because it looked nice already. Versus like if in my normal shoots, when I'm shooting at like an auto ISO, let's say for a lot of the wildlife moments, on the screen, it'll look nice and balanced, but it looks flat because there's light everywhere, right? So because there's light everywhere, it's not as easy for me to see what would happen once I turn down the light, once I'm more, you know, like, yeah, when I play, manipulate the exposure and stuff like that. So it's a little bit harder usually. On this particular trip, yes, I knew I had something. And it was more just a question of like, how much more can I edit off of it? Or am I stuck with what I shot? I apologize, Mookie. You asked a really good question, and I kind of was fumbling through in terms of my answer. But the next time someone asks me that question, I think I'll be a bit more refined, okay? But thanks for the question. So, and I'll show once I finish this edit, I'll show you what I mean, because a lot of the shots that we were looking through, you would see like it was proper underexposed, but it looked good. It looked good. Like if I did 0 edits on it, I would be happy. Like all I did was just recrop or find a nice like a different aspect ratio or something, I would have been happy. So And there was a term for this that I forgot as well. When you're exposing, is it called exposing for the highlights? Maybe that's what it is. Exposing for the highlights. I don't know why, but that phrase is ringing in my head. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. And then we'll do one final touch. But before we do that, let me show you what I mean. Let me just jump to the next photo. So like this was as is, right? So this is how I shot the photo before anything, right? There's 0 edits done to this shot. So this is what I basically saw through my camera, through my camera in the moment. And so it already looked great to me. In my mind, through the camera, I was like, oh, this is nice. Like the chimp, the colors of the green, the lighting on the chimp's face looks so good. It was nice soft light reflecting on the curves. But yeah, so like this one I was like different, where I was like, ooh, I have something here. But my concern was always, and you know, I'm repeating myself, I was like, wait, is this actually going to be pitch black? And then it's like, okay, you know, part of it looks good, but really I just kind of F myself, you know? So I don't recommend this always. I think it's better to just shoot in auto ISO, especially with a camera like a ZR that can handle low light pretty well. So it's like, in my opinion, just shoot in auto ISO, and then you can always bring down the lights. I've always heard this quite a bit, that it's easier to, it's better to, what did they say? Expose to the right, right? ETTR is the phrase. Because supposedly, and I can't really say why, but I guess technically speaking, it's easier to bring down the light. It's easier to, bring down the light than it is to rescue details in the shadows. So yeah, it's better to be overexposed. All right, the final effects. What did I apply here? I just had one mask. Let me just copy this over. And then let's play with this a little bit more. Something like this, maybe. Okay. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I still think the shot we edited prior to this one is still better, but we'll add this to the collection, and looks good to go. What's the next one? We've got, okay, now we've got one where it's looking off to the left. So this should be a little bit more interesting. Let's see what I can do.
He has to change projectors at the exact second when one reel ends and another one begins. If you look
Solid answer. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for
right-hand corner of
saying
the
that.
Boop. If you look for it, you can see these 2 little dots in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Boop.
And only what I want to do is try to keep this front light off this. Right. So using those lights over there to light the back half, or light the trail for the ball.
You know what?
Same thing with that one back there.
When I see this cropping, I realize I don't think this super wide angle does work. Initially, I thought it could, but the problem is because I'm cutting off the chimp almost at the head, or like almost at the neck, and like where the shoulder joint kind of is, like it does make this feel discombobulated. Is that a word? I don't know. It feels a little bit weird, like the arm doesn't belong to this chimp. So I'm thinking actually it might not work to do that. We might stick to either the 2.4:1, so a bit more of the body is revealed, I think. Or we do like a proper 16:9. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, this one we'll do a 16:9. because it's like a decent foliage in the foreground that kind of covers all the way from the mid, like from the left all the way to the right. So it's almost like a blanket, you know, arch. I don't know how to describe it. So I think it's okay. And then we'll just reframe it a little bit. All right, we'll go with something like this. I'm going to speed run this one. I think we've got our hero shot, so I'm just going to rush through
And then
this.
use these front lights just way down, just to poke into the other side of the ball, up into that path over there, and just give you a little bit of focus. Does that make sense?
You ready? We're hot. We're hot. Stand by. Roll cameras. We are rolling. See you all around. Ready and action.
Go,
Sean. Go, 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 go. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Hey, what movie is that from?
Okay, and action. Action. And action.
Well, you need that one. It's a duplex.
So if they go...
So if he's here, if he comes out, but he can't see, he has to come and look beyond the railing, and they're standing down here. To make it a better, because when they're flat to him, they're flat to each other like that, it just seems like they're gonna see him out of the corner of their eyes. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And then he has to kind of go sideways, and he sees Ralph. Then he can see Ralph.
Okay.
Let's try that. Maybe what we should do is do it back over his shoulder, looking up at the video camera. He goes like this.
Okay,
So we see him out of focus in the foreground. You know, like on a 40 or 75. And we want to boom down just as he's taking the knife out. So we want to boom down right there. See, the thing is, you can get up. I think the up position is strong. So let's put a riser on this, and then just start that much higher on the bottom of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe what we could actually do is start in, pushing a little bit tight around this way. And then I can't do that. Yeah, so start in a little tighter and come back.
She's up the stairs and tilts over the rail.
Can we do that off a dolly?
No, because that wall can't come out. We're stealing it. There's no way to fit a dolly in there.
Okay, last two shots. Last two of the chimps. And then this one, we got like at least a clean shot of the eyes. So same thing, Mookie. If you look at this shot, clearly underexposed, right? You look at everything. You look at the histogram. I mean, you can just look visually. It's pretty low light. So yeah, there was real fear that this was pitch black and, you know, it's a messed up shot. So even after having done that, I think I would still rather just shoot at the higher ISO and bring it down. I mean, yes, you can argue that shooting at the ISO 100, it does mean I should have the cleanest image, but there's only so much you can do if you're dealing with a lot of super underexposed areas. So I don't actually know yet if the increase in ISO, the additional noise, but the ability to be more flexible with the shot versus the cleanest image, but not being as flexible, which is better. I don't have the right answer yet. I just know this was a fun challenge. That's it. Okay, let's see what we can do with this shot. This one, I think we're just gonna have to go, we'll start from scratch. How do I, oh yeah, I think for this one I was saying it might look better as a portrait. So we'll either try like a 9x16 or we'll do a 3x4. The reason I say 3x4 these days is because I think that's the largest format for Instagram. As sad as it is, right? We do need to adhere to social media formats. So this is 3x4. And then the 9x16. 9x16 looks clean. What should we edit for? I think I'll edit for the 3x4 because I can always crop into 9x16. So let's see. Let me just make sure I have enough space for that. Something like this. Okay. So imagine we grab a shot like this. Now let's apply. I'm going to keep watching while we do this.
Okay, well, she can start right here. Yeah. She doesn't need to start. So can we do it with the dolly if we don't?
No, because that wall's totally in the way.
But what I'm saying is, if you're Chinese on a dolly and you push it into it, I mean, isn't it the same thing? Okay. Oh, you're fine.
I put the couple dollies in there and they hit the wall in the other way.
So I slowed him down quite a bit.
Good.
So he doesn't run.
Cool. Done.
Yeah. That's a major.
And she goes up out of this. That's when we cut it, and we go into the other one.
So this doesn't even tilt up.
No.
Okay.
Take some dig. Pull the floor out. Put this in and shoot that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
I know exactly where the camera is, how far it's panned. I can measure 5 feet out, 2.5 feet from this line. The camera right there. This is how high it is. This is how far it's tilted down.
Oh, I'm gonna be drunk every fucking day. I need all the NYC 2000s gone.
Gotcha.
And then I need somebody to take a spirit level to 69 and all those ones around it, just get them level.
Level all the signs.
Level all those signs. Do these come out? Do these come out?
They can.
I'm gonna need leaves that'll take me back to the 67th Street turnout. And I need our own vehicles, and that would be 20 vehicles.
Of the appropriate color.
I want I don't want any whites or any silvers or any grays. I want black, dark brown, dark green, no dark blue. I can have like a tan. I can have like...
No red?
No red. I can have like anthracite, like that BMW there. I can have a dark, I can have this kind of dark blue as long as it doesn't have a lot of color in it. Close up in the foreground, she says that son of a bitch is already leaving, blah, blah, blah. And then she exits frame. So it's just them probably walking from where this gentleman is into a close-up. We have a POV from here of Ian Buchanan at the stoop through the trees. We're going to have to do something about the excessive growth in this foliage. So we'll start inside the railing, we'll come out, I may go. We have to platform over this, and we'll probably be about this height. And we'll come out to here, and we'll hold them at the bottom as they're looking up at... One question, if I'm shooting to the corner, you're going to have all those signs straightened out?
Yeah, we're going to straighten all the signs.
And you get rid of
all
the
those
purple
paper boxes.
Purple and red boxes, okay.
See those two signs closest to us, the no parking, right here on our street? Those have those signs on them because they're going to come cut them down because they put the post in crooked and we can't straighten them. So they're going to make the...
I think in front of the brick building is probably where we'll do where Lydia goes. That bastard, he's leaving already. Leaving.
I think we're looking at it from down here somewhere.
Yeah, we're going to be down here. We're going to see that, and I also need to see her from up here. Come, oh, Evan, you were an angel. So I need to see that from up here. So that's why I need to exfoliate.
And also we had a
defoliate, exfoliate. And then I am going to do a shot from the bottom of the stairs where Jody comes up, takes a look around, and we kind of tilt up to see the house. Kind of a little place room on the other side. We got ladders made of.
Reinforced.
This is old. This is old. The kitchen is new. I want, because I see so much of this stuff that's reflected in here, this is not good enough. Just tacking this up. I'm gonna be down low a lot. And these fixtures, are we gonna go with the trim line? Which one's the darkest? Okay, so so I like both of those. Okay. But what I don't like is finish with this under here. So what I'm looking for is, I don't want to see screws, and I don't want to see gaps, and I don't want to see plastic things that are stuck to it. Clean this up. It would be nice. I would like it if this had like a cove to it. So this all gets waxed. We're going to see again, these windows are going to get drilled shut. So he's going to be doing this. And then the shades. I need the shades to start higher and drop easily all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, here's the steel, concrete, that's the floor of the panic room. And under that would be timber joists, old ones. And now we're saying lath and plaster.
I do think we need to do wax, a buff wax.
Okay.
Like, you know,
Johnson's paste wax kind of thing.
yeah, I think we have to do that because this stuff adds a beaded texture to it because and you need it to be slick. I think this should be out like about 3 more inches from the wall. Looks a little done. Let me clean this up a little bit. We've got to look at the previs, Dan, of the transition from this room into that room for the platform set when we do the big track, because we are going to want to squeeze this wall in, so we will need a new wall.
Okay.
This is all good. This is all good. That's it. Thank you all very much.
But that's the kind of idea. Yeah, those are cool.
Here, I got these, Dave. These are, no, where's the?
Yeah, now we'll do this later. We don't have to do this right now.
If we want to, don't go and kill people.
Slow it down a little bit. You guys need to be shoulder to shoulder. I can't see it. Yeah, just right. Okay, and then go straight through. Yep, there we go. Let's do it again.
Scene 4, take 1, Mark. Ready, action.
Well, I mean, right now it's in the way of the crane, so we're not even going to see it.
This is where she makes a little hitch step and goes, oh, that's here.
Hit disclosure with it. Or with A or B or C.
All right, we got it.
Background and action.
All right, this is the final look on this one. Again, I'm super happy with this. And then we only got one more. I'm hoping this should just be a quick copy and paste, because it's basically the same shot. It's just that I think I moved slightly where there was some blade of grass or some, like, I don't know, some plant leaf in the way, which gives you a cool effect if you position your camera just right. So here I'm shooting through the leaf, so it creates this like green filter effect. So whereas the prior shot, the chimp's face is clean, it's tack sharp and all that, this one's going to be a little bit softer because the haze effect is already applied essentially. But I'm okay with that. And I do want to see how it will look on the shot. So let's go ahead and copy this over, including the cropping. Let's go ahead and copy that. And then let's move it more towards the center. Something like this. Let me just do it again. Nope, dang it. That's good. All right. And then I'll just do the same steps. I think I'm happy with how it looks already. We're just going to put it through Dehancer, do the exact same effect. So hopefully the look and feel should map on cleanly. Okay. Man, it's so funny. I thought in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? It's like almost 10 p.m. If I think I should be able to finish in the next 15 minutes or so. Now I'm looking at the time, it's like 10:45. So, like I said, you can't rush. I can't be rushed. It's just not in my nature, unfortunately. But it's not to say that's a bad thing. I'm clearly, how to say, it's been enjoyable, right? You lose track of time. Boom, looks good. We get this nice glowy effect. Anything to change here? I think I just want to drop it down. No, that's good. Maybe cooler tones, yeah. All right, for this one, I think I want to reduce the, yeah, let me reduce the saturation there. That yellow is a bit distracting. So I'm going to bring down the yellow. We're going to illuminate the face a bit more by creating a radial gradient. It won't have to be perfect, I just want a little bit. There we go. Okay, it's a little bit mysterious, but I like it. And then let's see if I need to change this one at all. This one I think I'm okay with the colors. I don't know why. One looks fine. At least we have two different results. This one though, wait, one thing I do need to change. I think there's something about the skin tone maybe. Okay, I think it's good enough. All right, guys, that's it. We've got all the final shots. So go to 5-star. Let's see what we've got done today. So here, let me end this. All right. So for today's session, where do we start? We started from this photo, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so this is the first photo we edited today. So this is the full, after we did all of our edits, what we got. Really happy with this one. I think composition also. It's like, it's a bit crowded, like, you know, the body takes up the entire frame, but I kind of like this. I'm not sure why. I think it's better than having too much space on the top. So breaking some rules here from what people normally say you should do composition wise, but I like this. Next one is just a bit more wide angle, widescreen, punched in shot of this chimp sleeping. I didn't expect this to be a decent shot, but it turned out fairly fun to work with. And there's a bit of a story here. So we're like it's like a stock shot, right? We're like sneaking in as he's sleeping. Now this is when the chimp is awake or the eyes are open, close up. This one's a bit, it's a bit jarring because it's like a close up upside down head of the chimp staring at us and you can't really see the rest of the body. And that's one of the things because I was shooting with such a wide aperture here, but it is a tack sharp image. It's looking straight at the camera. I quite like it. And then we got a vertical version. And then this one turned out super well. I mentioned on the stream, but I think I'm happy with the decision I made here in terms of the framing to kind of compose the shot to have the chimp's yawn more towards the right of the frame. If you look at the original image, this is like I'm cropped in quite a bit on this, but it turned out good. 2 versions, but this one's the winner. Then this one turned out nicely, again, mimicking a lot of like the haziness and the misty vibes inside the jungle, as this chimp looks like it's kind of being pensive or poet. It's like the Isaac Newton mode, waiting for some apple to hit him on the head. And then we've got one of this might end up being like the hero shot of them all, just because of the pose, the structure of it, and like the lighting. But that turned out really good, and we have a few different examples of it. So there we go. We did it. I said in my title that I would do. This was the final day of editing these chimp photos. I mean, there might be a few others that pop up here and there, or like maybe we'll review some of these and edit them again. But we're done. We're done with these. So what does that mean? Okay, so that means we can finally, so tomorrow's stream, I'll edit one of these shots as well. It's one of the guides, the head ranger. So I think this will be nice. I can send it to like the tourism board. Maybe they'll be happy. But as a sneak peek of what we'll edit tomorrow and going forward. So we got some random shots from the road. So I have a number of shots that I took just as we were driving towards our next destination. These will be important for me to edit because I recorded every shot you see here. There is a subsequent, what do you say? There's an accompanying action camera footage behind the scenes. Like I was wearing the action camera on my hat. So I would hit record every time I was about to take a photo. So I'd stick my head out the window, take the shot, or wherever I'm doing to take the shot. And you can see the behind the scenes of me actually, you know, lifting the camera and capturing the moment. So these will eventually become part of YouTube videos. So you see like the behind the scenes when I see something I want to capture, and then you see when I hit the shutter button, it should switch over in the video to showing you the before and after of my images. So all of these, you'll get to see the full picture, how I grabbed the moment and then how I edited the moment. So we got a bunch of these kind of shots from the road of like some people shots. I'm excited for these. And then eventually, so that's going to take up at least what? I want to guess like 2 days, given my pace. We'll go with like 2 days to get through some of these photos. I probably won't be as, like I'm going to be a bit faster with these edits because these are like, more, like for the people shots, I'm not usually as, whatever, you know, it's like for the wildlife shots, those are tends to be like my hero images that I want to push onto my Instagram or whatever else. The people shots, they're just more for like, you know, I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, we're going to finally get into the gorillas. So for the gorillas, I don't have as many good photos to go through because I explained a little bit on the stream before. When I was shooting for this day, I was struggling through, I got hit with something called the Nairobi fly, which is not a fly, it's a beetle. And I wasn't bitten by it. It basically released a lot of toxins on the back of my neck. It must have gotten trapped there in between my neck gaiter. But essentially that toxin or the liquid, it's like acid essentially. So it gave me like a chemical burn. We didn't know for days what exactly I was inflicted by. There was like real concern, like, oh my God, are you like, you know, did you get like a parasite or something? It looked nasty. We're talking blisters and all kinds of stuff on the back of my neck. So I did venture out onto this gorilla trek, which I probably shouldn't have, or like, I mean, in hindsight, I'm glad I did, but without knowing what it was, I went out into the sun again. I tried my best to keep it protected, but yeah, it only made it worse. But thankfully I did get some shots, not to complain. And then there was another gorilla trek the next day. But basically at that point, I made the executive decision because when I saw the back of my neck, I was like, yo, this looks nasty. I gave my permit to our guide to go on the trek with my 2 guests. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the second gorilla trek, but you know, it all worked out in the end. There should be a number of photos here, though, that will turn out nicely, like this moment of the mother and the baby kind of, you know, chilling together. So there's at least one hero image that we'll work with, a couple of them. Some close-ups of the gorillas. These should be pretty fun to work with. Some of my guests. Yeah, so anyways, this is going to be what, like maybe another 3 days. So it's going to take us the entire week before we're done with the gorillas. And then after the gorillas, this is basically the end of my trip. There's a few more of those shots as I'm heading back to mainland, or like the main city. But this was unfortunately the end of my adventure, because I was like, okay, as my two guests continued on with the itinerary, they went on to some other national parks. They got some really cool shots. I was so sad I couldn't join them. But for me, I went back on my own first, so I can go to a doctor, get checked up, and rest, because I was going straight to Tanzania after this. So anyways, that's my quick little updates for what's going on. All right, guys, thank you very much for a wonderful stream. I appreciate all of you guys who hopped in at various points. We got a lot of stuff done. I'm happy. We got some really cool shots. I'm excited to eventually post this on Instagram, and it's going to be part of my upcoming YouTube video. So yeah, look forward to that. Thank you guys. Happy Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll stream like an hour or so earlier than this time, and then we'll try to go longer as well. So we'll see if we can stick to that. Thanks, Datore. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. All right. Appreciate it, guys.